you get your next attack is 50% faster, and you get a 10% movement speed and attack speed buff for 3 seconds.
Maybe.
Why would you attack faster if you hit them? You're saying if you block their attack?
If you block their attack, right.
Right, so that's still a huge risk, and you're dealing less damage via the slam than you would if you just left-clicked.
Dude, let him have fun, dude.
True.
Oh, shit.
It's true,
dude.
but
Fucking
you could also
gaming.
block their swing, deal damage to them for free, and then get a buff.
Game on.
Boys, we are live. We couldn't wait. We couldn't even
All right.
wait to get into the discussion.
Yeah, well, it's been a while. I mean,
Holidays
Hello,
and
Merry Christmas.
And a
Yes.
welcome back to
Hey.
Mr. SBS. It has been a minute.
It hath.
How was
Hello,
the trip?
boys.
Tell us about
Oh,
the trip.
Hawaii was incredible. Outside of the fact that I was just pining to be back in the dungeons, covered in goblin grease. No, it was really, really nice. I went on this insane rainforest hike called Willy Willy Nui, and it was slightly raining, so the whole trail was mud. And they have these big knotted ropes that come down, so you're kind of climbing up the trail and then rappelling on the way down. And at the very top, you're in the cloud layer, and there's one bench. So we all just sat on the bench, and all around you is just a wall of cloud. And you just sit there, and it's very, very relaxing. Probably a really good place just to meditate and hang out. We were really like the
Nice.
only people hiking, probably because it was raining, but it was marvelous, man. Surfing, snorkeling, clear water. It's basically perpetually summer. I'm talking about December, board shorts in the water at 5 or 6 p.m.
I mean, that sounds awesome, but
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
That's no dungeon. That's all I'm
It's
saying.
no
That's-
dungeons. It was a good reprieve. As Nate says, playing this video game is a perpetual vacation. So
Mhm.
I will keep going to Hawaii, and he can live in the dungeons. But it was
Dude,
good. Thanks for asking.
Even N-Boss was talking about going to Hawaii. You gotta take a break sometime.
Look, man, NBoss has been doing 12+ hour streams every day, and he just told me he's never had migraines in his whole life, and now his vision is fuzzy on the outset, and he can't land any heals, and he's feeling sick. It is time to sleep and normalize. All right, we got years to play this. All right, don't burn out.
getting older. He's past.
Did he
his
say
prime.
that
Oh,
today?
he got old overnight, actually.
Yeah,
totally.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
Gamer
all over.
years. It adds up.
They're like
He was
dog
fine
years.
last night. He was fine last night, but
That's what happens, man. Sometimes people are fine last night and dead today.
okay. Well,
It's all over.
let's hope he doesn't drop dead today.
Yeah.
But it's been a while since we got together and were able to talk about a big, meaty Dark and Darker patch, and we
Mhm.
definitely had one of those recently, and another,
On the way.
another hotfix on top of that. But the
Right.
meat and the potatoes of the patch was 2 days ago, 3 days ago, something.
2
along
days.
those lines,
2 days ago. Yeah.
And there's a lot to talk about. I'm not sure where
Yep.
you guys want to start because there's so much, but let's just dive into it, right?
Scott put
plus we
together a
got
very
the-
helpful outline.
The steak is coming too with Ice World and Druid and Auction House. Join the
Mhm.
potatoes.
Oh yeah. So what do you want to talk about first? You want to talk about
Let's talk about the
The
easy
pink-
win, the easy W,
Okay.
the quest incremental turn in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How good does that feel? How much easier does it make managing quests like the Bangle quest when you can just click, basically fill it in, deliver?
I wouldn't
rather
know.
than have
I
to
already,
go
I, already,
through.
I already suffered. I already suffered through it all, so I wouldn't know.
Well, I'm
Yeah, but now
playing
you
one
can
of
do the
every
quests.
character. Yeah, and it feels
Yeah.
really good, especially those early 15 campfires that aren't clogging up my one single
Like-
stash
Gosh,
page.
dude.
I'm sure
The
it's great,
surge
but
kits.
literally a week ago I vended like 13 campfires on my alt and like 7 ceremonial daggers and all the leather caps. I just couldn't be bothered anymore. It was taking up too much space. And then the patch comes like 3 days later,
Oh,
and
boy.
I'm like, all right, lucky me. But I'm glad it's here now.
Mhm. We're
It's,
trailblazing, is what that was.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
everyone who comes behind you is thankful.
Yeah. The first
We
the first
all-
person through the wall always gets bloody, you know.
Yeah.
We all knew that change was gonna come through because it was like very clearly just an oversight, right? They just were like, oh, whoops,
Yeah.
we forgot to put that in. We gotta code that in. Sorry.
Mm.
Good change though, and then now it doesn't feel so bad doing quests. Like I was just gonna skip them on my wizard, but now it's like, well, I don't need to eat up my whole inventory space. I might as well do them.
Yeah,
Right,
that was a
you
huge
don't-
play life change.
You don't feel pressured to get the 10K stash tab on every character
Mm.
right now just to try to get quests done.
Mhm.
So yeah, it makes it a lot more bearable for sure. Agreed. Yeah, I don't know. We need to camp on that topic. That's a pretty easy dub. Nate, I think you were going to bring up the anti-cheat, anti-RMT topic and ping lock.
Yeah, it's not working still, right? I know it wasn't working yesterday. I still felt like it wasn't working today. I'm still seeing some very questionable names of individuals doing questionable things in game from an unnamed region. So I think it's maybe not working for the West Coast yet. I'm sure they're just still working at the bugs and stuff. But their intent is in the right place. We definitely need a ping lock. I've always been very anti-ping lock in the past because I like to play on the EU server. I like to mess around. I'll go play the Aussie server sometimes with some of my friends. I'll go play the Japan servers when NA downtime or NA time is like dead because I play like at 3 a.m. So sometimes the servers are just dead. So I'll go play Tokyo sometimes, and now I won't be able to do that. But like the RMTing, the cheaters, and like the stream snipers have been just out of control. And they're usually from like Western or Eastern countries. So ping locking will delay that. It'll make it harder for them. I don't think it's going to stop the problem. People are going to VPN. They're going to get around it. People have been doing that for years. But I'm glad that Iron Mace sees this as an issue and is trying to find solutions. So that's very good.
Agreed.
I know I'm not alone with the stream snipes. I know Sobad's been getting sniped pretty hard too. So I'll let him go on his little stream sniper rant.
No, I'm not going to give them credit where credit's not due. I might have rage quit, but there's no way it was their fault.
It's been so bad. I've gotten
really
people
bad.
banned. I've been saving names. I've been sending them to Grayson, and they've been very good at like handling it. And I've gotten like 12 people banned in the past couple of days. But feels good.
Yeah, as a newer streamer, I reached out to Sacriel on one peg and was like, "What do I do, man? Like this guy won't leave me alone. He's actually swapping classes to counter class me to come snipe me." And before,
you can't do nothing about it.
He's on the other side of the door, and I'm still in my first module, and he's like, "So bad, I'm coming." And I'm like, "Dude, come on, man! Like, go do something else. Let me play the video game." Like, it's very easy to stream snipe in this game, but I've seen a lot of people, including Repose, just go on delay, and like it's harder to interact with chat like that. It's harder to showcase the positive sides of the video game and get new people to play. But it's also part of it. So whatever we can do to alleviate it, I'm for. And Iron Shield does ban. I've never had anybody banned for stream sniping, but they are very quick on the hacks, especially the ranged hacks and the auto headshot hacks, which are almost exclusive to barbarians.
Yeah, to clarify, like people have they've been sniping, but they've also been cheating. So that's probably why they've been getting banned so swiftly.
They want that gold gear.
Yeah. People that were like obviously sniping, but then on top of it, like I had reason to believe that they were ESPing or using like the spectate cheese. And Iron Mace was like, yeah, we'll actually look into that. And then they got back to me like, oh yeah, we can actually confirm these guys are definitely cheating. Thank you for letting us know. And then they banned them. So
speaking of the spectate cheese, they have now removed spectating from HR. How do we all feel about that?
Yeah, I like that. I miss spectating. I like spectating. I like when I die. I like watching the demise of the team that just killed me after they kill me. And
even just getting to see how much damage you did to them. It's just like, damn, I almost had him dead.
Well, there's a damage like if you see how much damage you deal.
You see how much you took. I'm pretty sure, not how much you deal.
I think it's how much you deal as well. Am I wrong with that? I might be wrong.
I haven't seen damage dealt. Maybe there's a selector for it that I haven't found, but I just
maybe there's a drop down. I just haven't paid attention.
Yeah, but I do miss spectating, but I understand why they're doing it because people are going. These teams of potentially RMTers and cheaters and stream snipers are going in with a scout and they're just dying at the first minute, and they have map hacks, and it is annoying. It is ruining the game, and this is like a band-aid solution. I hope they have a better solution in the future so we can get spectate back. I've been saying for a while, maybe you keep spectate gone, but I would just love to have access to replays. Like if I can go back after a game and like just watch the game over,
right?
So I can look at because a lot of the times when I die to somebody and I'm like, that was a little suspicious. I want to spectate them and kind of confirm my theory. And now I can't do that. So if someone did something weird to me, I don't really know what's going on now. I can't really confirm if they were up to no good or not.
You just kind of have to report it and hope that the system catches them if there was something malicious going on.
Yeah. So like, that's like the obvious downside in my opinion, but I think it's a good band-aid solution. I think it's a temporary fix. I think they'll do different changes in the future, but overall, I'm a big fan.
Same. So, I think as long as they, just to end the point, I hope they continue working on it, and I think we could get a replay. Like I'm just thinking about Fortnite and where Fortnite came from and where it ended up, and then you can just go back and watch like your last 10 matches, or like Call of Duty has that as well.
Yeah,
Plus,
League,
that's
Counter-Strike,
really
all
good
that.
for making videos. You know, you can go back, maybe you have like a spectator cam or like different angles, slow motion, you put it all together, it would look really good. Plus it would
It'd be
help
great for
find
content.
cheaters.
It'd be great.
Send it. Go ahead, Scott.
No, I was just going to say, do we think that their decision to make gold less frequent on Ruins normals was in direct relationship to that spectating decision? So that
that's a good point, actually.
Yeah, so they are leaving it on norms, right? But maybe the thinking is that the RMTers would continue to exploit Ruins normals unless it was less worthwhile to do so, and maybe that's why they brought Ruins gold down.
I wasn't even thinking about like the RMTers using spectate on Ruins to like see who's going for what nodes and what ore nodes are safe. I did not even think of that, and like what people have the ore to hunt them down type thing. That's I didn't even think. It's crazy. It's the plot fucking thickens.
I think it's partially that, but I think also, I mean, we definitely had like a mass influx. I think the supply of gold was getting a little out of hand. If we just look at Ken's inventory on his rogue, you get a picture of what it looks like for some people. It's just like tabs full of gold bars, and
I don't even do this for a living, you know.
Right.
Well,
I mean, you also don't want the easiest game modes to produce the most wealth. So
exactly.
I think bringing that down is fine. It's the same reason you don't get crazy drops from the bosses in norms. You learn how to do them so you can go fight in HR like everybody else.
Right.
Especially now, I feel like since the changes, as much as everybody wanted norms, and I love the change. I mean, I haven't been in norms in ages at this point. I think most people just go HR as soon as possible. You 0 to hero. You play the edges.
It's murder's row in there.
Norms, but yeah,
Norms has been sweaty lately. So that's where I'm going to boss. Personally, I'm going to norms, especially when Crips is on solo now. Last couple of days, like, okay, I can go solo the Lich, but I'm not going to try to do that in HR. So I've been spending a lot of times in norms, especially when it's solo Crips, and holy cow, it's sweaty. Duos is worse, way worse. Solo Crips has been worse than I expected, but duos has just been insane.
It's funny that you say that.
Duo Crips is a lot of fun. Sorry, you go.
I'm just gonna say that I feel like HR is very friendly, so it's funny that you're saying how sweaty norms is.
Oh yeah,
like everybody knows they can't solo the HR bosses or really even necessarily duo them. So I feel like everyone's friends to try to bring down the HR bosses now on the map rotation.
I think HR bosses are pretty easy to duo. I don't know if they've modified the health at all. I did one with Hippo earlier, and it was just we're just in whatever gear we got from a couple runs on Cleric Barb, and we managed to do it no problem. So I don't know if they brought the health down, or if just Cleric Barb is just a good combo for duos. I could see the Warlord being a problem because you just don't have enough DPS to kill the ads unless they lower the ads health.
Yeah, it's an issue.
I don't see why you can't do Lich and Ghost King as a duo very easily, because there's no mechanic that like puts you on a clock type thing like Warlord. Yeah, I guess Ghost King you might run out of room with the blobs on the ground. Yeah, but even then, that's only if you're getting hit by stuff. So you should be fine. I've been actually having a lot of fun in duos. Like duo Crips feels so good. Honestly, we probably should use that as a segue to like dive right into like solo duo map trios rotation. and the map rotation. Yeah.
Josh is gonna want to talk all about duos, Goblin Caves, because we played a lot of that. Every time Ruins came up, both I don't know why, but both him and Emboss just fucking hate Ruins. They don't want to play that map. So we're doing trios, and we'd play trios Goblin Caves, trios Crypts. But then every time it comes up to Ruins, Emboss would go split off and do solo, and then Josh and I would run duo Goblins. And duo Goblins is actually really fun. We were playing Bard Fighter, which I'll be honest feels really fucking strong in Goblin Caves. But it feels like the mob density for Goblin Caves specifically was designed with two people in mind. The mob density, the amount of health, the amount of damage that they do, their AI behavior, it just feels like it was designed with two people in mind. I like it.
It's funny that you say that. You guys, like, when it comes up to Ruins, you're like, all right, let's split up and
I like Ruins.
You know, I was gonna say because like that's how me and my friends feel about Goblin Caves. Like, so I've been loving 3v3s on ruins. Like, getting into big fights on ruins has been a lot of fun. There's like room to have fights, but I've also been playing with like a ranger on my team. So I might just be OP for our comp.
I mean, it's going to be absolutely compositional. And since when you're talking about Odin, So Bad Strange, and the end boss, that's a lot of W keyers. So you put us in Goblin Cave, it's a brawl in there. So we're running fighter, bard, cleric, and a lot of times end boss will sank and then just push with us. So we have 3 melee pushing everything.
Yeah, every time
it was a lot of
Goblin
fun.
Caves for us or on our 3s team, we just go on our ults, we go on our naked rogues, and we just backflip everywhere. We use that 30 minutes.
I saw that.
we use that 30 minutes as just a fuck around, chill out.
And you're all lizards.
Yeah, and just relax for 30
So
minutes. And then when Crips is back, we go back to sweating. So it's like a little bit of a break kind of, and we go try to kill the troll and stuff and have a little bit of fun.
I do think ruins is very dependent on having somebody that can do range damage, and that's why I've switched. I'm like, I don't fuck with crossbow anymore on fighter. Like I realize it's still good. They nerfed it a little bit, but just having a bow feels mandatory in a lot of situations now. Just being able to do that chip damage more consistently and then push when you have the upper hand. I feel like you need to have that if you're going to play on ruins. If you don't have a class that does that, you're trolling.
Mm-hmm. And just to address the elephant in the room, let's be real. The Goblin Caves was not designed for 3 people.
Definitely not.
It's a mistake. I can see them keeping ruins in the 3 rotation, but I don't think Goblin Caves belongs there. Like, ruins is obviously designed for 3s because like that's supposed to be B1, and then we go to Crypts and then Inferno. So like it makes sense, and I think ruins is a little boring right now because you don't have the option to go down to like an Inferno. But it seems like that they might have that in the works, right? They might have a hell for
sure.
The gates are there.
Gates are there with the red glow. That will be static downs for sure.
Even if it's just temporary, just like make it so we just go to Inferno, like until you make a different one. You know,
I'd be fine with that.
Yep.
I think that'd be awesome.
We can move Goblin Caves to solo duo queue, and then ruins to duo trio, and then Crypt can be all 3.
I
just don't know how that would rotate.
I really liked the way trios and Goblin Caves felt because it actually did just feel like playing an easier Inferno with less rewards. It was the same kind of cadence of the fights because usually in Inferno you only have 3 teams, and even if you're lucky if it's 3 full teams when you get down there in the higher ranks. But Goblin Caves is just that experience every time. You just have 3 teams spawning, kind of apart from each other. You clear 2 modules. More often than not, you run into each other before then, and then it's boss time. It feels like it's well paced for 3s. So I think the map itself, maybe like the design of like the bridges and stuff, it doesn't feel great for 3 players to try to navigate it. But as far as like the cadence and the pacing, it feels pretty good.
Yeah, the problem is the map. It's nothing to do with the number of players. It's solo, duo, trio. The map's just shit. It's just a shit map.
I don't like the map.
It's just a poorly designed map.
You take that back.
Yeah, I mean, you're the Goblin King, and I bet you're in denial, but you don't like that map.
He was just saying that he's getting sick.
No, that map 100% needs to be reworked. We need portal indicators on the mini map. We need more portals. We need a slightly more dispersed amount of monsters, only because with the current meta right now, the time to kill is extraordinarily low if anyone has any amount of gear and skill. And so to be forced to constantly be moving somewhere in tight spaces with very high damaging monsters, I'm talking like the Nightmare Goblin Bola or the Archer, practically one-shot you, even if you're in purples. If they get a headshot, it's like 70% of your health, and the time to get your HP back compared to how fast damage is dealt right now, like Odin was saying, you got to chip damage other players, and then you can just push. Like it's almost a free win in a lot of cases. So I don't know. That map is a lot of moving, a lot of third partying, a lot of camping. And every other map right now, especially Ruins, if we use that as a good example, there are multiple static escapes and a shitload of portals throughout each module. I feel very punished in multiple instances when I've played really well. I mean, how many does Goblin have now for solos? 9 or 10? It's way
more
too
than
many.
You have in trios.
It's way too many, and they're like twice already in the last day. I've just been at the end and like not found a portal and then just died, and then or I run to static and it's taken. I think it should also indicate if static is gone, like somewhere on the screen. Like it's very much with that many players, like a battle royale feeling about it, and it just sucks to make it to the end and be like, "Where's my escape at?" And especially if you have a barbarian, like you're so dumb you can't open the portal. Like how much time is between when the portal arrives and then it closes? And now if it's like 2 layers above you, it's like a 35-second transition to get up there. There could be monsters that can basically one-shot you. So I mean, there's issues. I think they mentioned in the patch notes that they want to expand the size of Goblin Caves similar to Crypt, give it like 35% or 45% play space. Then who knows? Maybe I mean, I could see every map leading to Inferno. Like I don't really see that being an issue.
Yeah, maybe increasing the size of Goblin Caves will fix it.
Yeah.
But like in
Size
reality,
plus
the
portals.
best thing they could do with that map, I think, is literally probably just delete it. You know,
Mhm.
just get rid of it.
I see what you're
mean,
saying, and I
how-
disagree.
How hard could it be to actually just build a new map? I mean, they're expanding their team. They're making. I feel like Goblin Caves was. I said this to Josh before, but I was like, just on a design standpoint, it is the worst fucking map ever made.
It's the hardest map.
I hate it.
Yeah.
I hate it so much.
I love
but
that map. Makes heroes.
let's talk about the other map that's now changed, because we've all had experiences with solo, duo, trio, and Crips, but Ruins solo. How does Ruins solo feel? It feels really free. I
Yes.
think you could play Ruins solo and never see another person if you just kind of stay to your own, like one or
I've
two
done
boxes.
it multiple
and
times. Yeah.
It's like I don't know. Maybe they need to up the player count, but I think if they do, you might end up with these issues where like too many people spawn next to each other, and then it turns into a spawn rush thing. It feels very relaxed for the most part. In the times I've played it, I think I've only killed like 2 people on there because there's just never anybody around. They're all running away or never show up in the first place.
Yeah, they're hitting the gold.
Free loot.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, I
decent
haven't
Spawn
played
one of
much
those
solo
boxes
runs.
is great.
Nice fight you. Sorry.
Oh, you're good.
I
I
haven't
was just
done
going to
any.
say there's different loot or decent loot in HR Ruins, and there's not a lot of incentive to go seek out combat when you can go in there, loot 2 or 3 modules potentially, and jump into static, maybe get some gold if you're lucky, and walk out of there with a bunch of purples. I mean, that loot is slightly
There's also
better than HR
4
Crypts, right?
There's also 4 static escapes, as opposed to goblins, which has 1.
Right.
I think can goblins have 2? I can't remember if you can spawn both the centipede and the war camp.
I don't think so. I think you can only have 1.
Yeah, so you have 4 statics. 2 of them are right next to the most profitable modules in the game at the moment. And like you said, there's not really a big incentive to go seek out combat because you're basically guaranteed to escape that map if you know what you're doing. Whereas Goblin Caves, the whole reason to seek out combat is because you're not guaranteed to escape that map whatsoever. In fact, it's very much the opposite. But Inferno or Crypt's is a little different just because you want to kill people so that you sort of give yourself a safety net for boss.
Right.
So I think if Ruins, if they're going to keep this rotation like this, Ruins needs to have something on it that causes players to engage more, because otherwise I think Ruins is going to end up just being this really low-key map where everybody just kind of avoids each other.
When it's solo, I agree, 100%. Not duo trio.
So
though.
what's the player count? What's the player count on solo runes? It's not
I think
16, I'm
it's-
guessing.
I think it's 9.
9? That makes sense. I mean, I don't know why they just wouldn't keep the same player count.
Is it 9 for all of them? I think it's 9 Goblin. And in Crypt, I don't see too many players, so it could be 9 in Crypt as well.
I wish they would keep like the map specific player counts, even for solo and duos.
Can you
Dude,
imagine 16 solos though? You just
Dude,
spawning,
that sounds
That'd be awesome.
getting rushed on both of your sides.
If there's enough spawns and if they have like dynamic spawn rotations, I think it'd be fine. I think the map's made for that many players. I just think they don't have enough spawn points.
Mhm.
I think that's the problem. And I think that's something they could fix, right?
Yeah, I mean, imagine spawning, like, the spawn where you spawn next to the skeleton mage and all the archers.
Yeah.
Imagine spawning right there. Somebody else spawns like the next box over.
Yeah,
and
fuck
then
that
another
guy, he's
person
dead, it's
Spawns
fine.
over the next one over. That guy's just like one of those dudes is just fucked.
In Goblin, you can actually spawn in the same box again as somebody else.
Oh,
Oh,
no.
jeez.
Yeah.
There's definitely places in runes that aren't spawn locations that could be like I could think of like a handful, like five or six I can just think of that could be spawn locations that are like relatively safe and stuff.
Mm.
Mhm.
Like elevator, like that where there's like only a couple too far zombies. There's no spawn there. I'm trying to think of some other ones, but there definitely are spots where you could spawn and like it'd be relatively safe. Imagine spawning under pyramid and somebody spawns above pyramid.
Oh god.
That'd be sick.
If it's just a ranger and they just trap the whole thing up, it's like you just close the game. You're like, well, GG, I miss.
Well, you just wait. You wait down there for someone to come third party him. Dude, there's 16 people in there. It's fine. Just wait.
How many? 16?
Or it's like 15 for
Let's
for
do
Crips,
let's do
right?
60. Yeah, let's try 60.
I was just
Yeah.
about to say,
Alright,
do you
I'm
guys
listening.
remember? Do you guys remember when there was a bug a couple patches back where if you just randomly had a chance to queue into Goblin Caves with like 30
Yeah.
people?
30,
That's the
yeah.
best. That's the best Goblin case
That
has
shit
ever
was
been.
so funny.
That's the best it's ever been. Yeah.
All right,
You would-
so
You would spawn sometimes literally looking at somebody else.
how about we do it where it brings up the map for you at the beginning, almost like every other BR, and you just choose which module you want to spawn in. And
You
so
mean the Naraka map?
sometimes you spawn in, and there's just like 12 people in the same module, and you're like, oh shit, and it's
But
just
you
a
can
hot
see
drop.
that they're spawning there.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That you know what? Actually, I don't hate the idea of having like the Naraka system where like certain parts of the map it changes each game, but certain parts of the map are like highlighted gold to show that there's higher rarity loot there.
Oh, loot. Yeah, that's what
And-
Apex does as well.
Yeah, and you can see how many people are dropping there. The Apex
Mhm.
you can't see until they've actually like flown in. So, but in Rocket you don't even. There's no drop in thing. You just click a part of the map and that's where you spawn at the start of the round. I
Mhm.
could see something like that kind of working for Dad, but I wonder how video gamey they're willing to get with their
Yeah.
character.
I don't feel like we need that feature, but it would be fun. Again, we always talk about end of wipe events on this podcast. It'd be fun if for like 3 days, there was increased player counts and you can choose where you spawn and just see like,
Mhm.
get feedback on it. We have time.
I'm going
So
in
for those of
Longsword.
you, we got to get to Longsword for sure. But real quick, to tie a bow around the map rotation, its impacts. There's no res in Goblin Caves right now.
Yep.
So
That's
for
a
those of
London
you guys
alleyway.
that have played threes,
shit,
I haven't really
yeah.
done trios in Goblin Caves, but for those of you that are, I mean, Cleric's got to be mandatory,
Yeah.
right? With res in order
Yeah.
to run that
If you're bringing
serious.
gear, yeah, bring a cleric. Yeah.
Yeah, else you're just scrapping.
Yeah.
Right.
We thankfully never needed it because we never died in Goblin Cave somehow. But
No, we lost
I
2
did-
the one game.
yeah, that was in Crypts.
No,
But
we
in-
lost 2 in Goblin. Remember, you had to strip. You had to strip as much as you possibly. We had just won a 3v3, but 2 of us died. So we didn't
Oh.
get a single taste of any of their 3 loots. You had to loot as quickly as you
Yes.
could, our jewelry and weapons, and then you
Mhm.
bounced.
Yeah,
So
I
that
remember
it's
now,
it's very risky, but I kind of like that about it, especially since Troll was dropping uniques. It was very
Yeah.
high risk, very high reward. It still is, even without the uniques.
I mean, the gold pile alone, being able to drop the legendary gems, which I'm still so mad that I sold one.
Yeah,
Oh, did you do it by
How do I feel about
accident?
that, by the way? How do I feel about it? Like being able to get unique items from Gold Pile now.
I
yeah,
like
dude.
it. And now that there's only 3 pulls or whatever in Troll, it seems adequate. Plus, for those who haven't done Troll today, there's no more loose loot on the ground anymore. There's one static spawn that could have like a cape or a weapon or whatever, and then the gold pile, and then also a marvelous chest. So there's still plenty of stuff in there. It's just not like this, medley of crap on the
A
ground.
lot of it was shit anyway, most of the time. So
Mhm.
it doesn't really feel that bad. Plus, there's still like I think there's still the ones that spawn like on top of the box, and those were usually the ones that were guaranteed to like be blue or higher. But having a marvelous, I think it's a 6-hit treasure hoard. I mean, you're
No, it was
so
5,
much.
and they nerfed it, so I think it's 3
Yeah, it was
now.
5, maybe 3. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
maybe yeah, 1 per player.
It's not
Mhm.
bad, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's fine for how easy the troll is.
Yeah,
That being
Troll's
said,
very
I've
easy.
died to the troll a million times. I've still
Also
never killed
true.
it.
Same.
Um,
Wait, Troll?
I've
Troll's
never
so
killed
easy.
it.
I've never killed it.
I've never killed it. I've seen people do it. I mean, I see people do it, so I know
It
it can be
doesn't-
done.
Yeah, I know it's not hard. I've just never committed to actually learning it because I don't
Yeah,
like
yeah.
the idea of just wasting a bunch of time to do that and then get third partied or something. I'm just like, nah, whatever.
I mean,
I'll
it's
let
fun
somebody else do it.
in duos and trios to have one player in there and everybody else
Yes.
scouts.
Yeah. You bring one
That's
teammate
been
who knows how
really
to do
fun.
it, and then you're
Yeah.
like, I'll keep you safe.
Yeah, Josh was our designated troll killer. I'd sit in
Yeah,
the
just
doorway and just
hard.
pelt him with arrows, and then we'd just watch both the doors and make sure nobody showed up.
Yeah.
I like that. My chat said put a resurrection shrine in the bottom with Troll. That's a good idea.
No, it's not a bad idea actually. Or maybe
that
they could
works.
just delete the map. I mean,
Anyway, in general, with the map rotation system, I think it's amazing. It's a good
So-
change of scenery. It's fun to swap maps, swap player counts.
so I think solo duo trios on all maps is good, but do we actually like the map rotating, like forcing players onto maps every 30 minutes? And
I
if
like it.
so, do we think 30 minutes is like the right time window? Because it feels a little short. but I mean, maybe it could be an hour window or even less. I don't know, or
I
an
don't
X
think
amount of game window.
it can't be more if we keep the same rotation, because then you'll never get onto crypts again. It'll be like 3 hours so you can crypt.
Yeah.
I think 30 minutes is good. If anything, it could be
Mm.
shorter. It could be every 20, and then you get like
No.
one map in.
I kind of like 30 minutes because so basically, if it rotates the crypts right now, you can get one crypts game in like 20 minutes. Go to kill the boss, so you can get out, and if you can get a second queue,
Mhm.
now
Right,
like
yeah.
towards the end,
Yep.
and then that'll
Yep.
be another 20 minutes, and then you could almost skip ruins if you're lucky. you know?
Right, right.
So like that is kind of. I mean, I think 30 minutes is a good time window if they're gonna keep the rotation.
Yeah.
But
30
it
minutes
seems
feels
like
good.
I say I'm a fan of it because I just like just to change the scenery, but it feels like it's pretty negatively received by
Really?
the community.
But to
Yeah.
be fair, Reddit is always vocal.
Yeah.
And
Not
I
even
don't
not
think
even
they're
Reddit.
majority.
Like I mean, the Reddit and there's chat. I mean, most people out here are like, they have issues with it. So I mean, we'll see if it stays. I don't think it will stay though.
The
What are
alternative
the-
is to just make it so that you can queue for any size for any map. But the problem with that is, of course, that we just don't
Yeah.
have enough players to sustain
That's
that
too
yet.
many.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
in a perfect world, that's what you'd want.
Or where you just queue solo, duo, or trio, and you get a random map.
That's what I've been saying. It should just be random.
But I mean, how could people like that any
Yeah,
more than
but
what we have now?
Right.
if
what
I
are
get
the main
fucking
complaints? by the
goblins
way?
5 times, I'm gonna be mad.
Well, people most likely would just want to play crypts, and they're like, "Ah, man, I'm only playing one game every 2 hours now because I'm just not playing ruins, and I'm not just playing while Goblin Case is active." And I get it. If you don't want to play those maps, I understand that. And like, I'm coming from the perspective of a streamer where like I'm gonna play no matter what because I'm live,
Right.
so I'm gonna play all the maps. But like in reality, I kind of just want to play crypts most of the time. But like
Yeah.
I'm still finding my fun and finding my enjoyment in the other maps too.
And
But
the other thing is,
like,
people
I'm
want
being
to
forced,
quest.
you know.
Yeah, like
Well,
they want to do Lich, and you go Crypts, you get Warlord, and now you won't be back in Crypts bossing for another hour or so. And then maybe you get Warlord again. And so now you're like 2 hours deep, and most people probably only have 2 hours for like a nice play session, and they'll never get what they want. So like at that point, we have to think of the casuals. And
They gotta lower
you know,
the boss kill requirements if they're gonna keep the map rotation in, because if you have to kill 15 liches before, you already had to deal with the RNG of 50-50 or
Yeah, think about it.
three-way split.
right.
One
Mhm.
crypts per hour and a half, and then you have a 1/3 chance to get it. So
Right.
Assuming
And
you
that's
survive.
Dude,
if
and
you
I've
win
pulled
the
the Warlord
lobby,
like every time
yeah.
today. I spent 4 hours
Yeah.
and pulled the Warlord, I think 4 out of 5 times that I actually made it down there and was able to get in. It was stupid.
Plus, if you die, it's like a 20-30 minute re-gear until we get Auction House.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some
But let
of
me-
this needs to be changed. But overall, for me, it was good. Like you said, meat and bones. Like it was a good content patch. It feels like a lot of new things.
Well, let's talk about the new stuff.
Feels
'Cause there's
fresh.
a lot of new stuff. Have any of you had a chance to look at the trade hall and actually go to the item name dropdown and scroll through all of the stuff that's been added? Because there are like, at first I thought it was only like 15, 20 items, but there's like 40 new items in there. A lot of them are helmets for some reason. There's way more helmets than anything else. But there's like, we have all the new magic resist gear that we currently have, the dashing boots and the runestone gloves, the dark leather ornate Jezerant. I don't think we have a helmet yet that has magic resistance on it, but there's a ton of items that have been just like, they didn't even try to hide it. They just put it there for everybody to see. But you can see that the druid's on there. There's clearly a ton of stuff coming. So let's talk about, there's all these things that have been proposed, like wands, the backpacks being added, the druid being added, the ice map being added.
Back to the
do
3
we-
map rotation. Ruins, Crypts, Inferno.
are we gonna have? Do you guys think this is on the roadmap, like in the near future? Do we want to see all this stuff now, or do we want ice map to be its own thing? We'll start with ice map because that's gonna be the biggest change that the game's had in a really long time. The rotating queue notwithstanding. We haven't even had any like real information about what it's gonna be like, unless somebody here has some insider information that they'd like to share with us.
I mean, outside of One Peg's dev interview, but that was a lot of really good information. They said it'll be the first map without a circle. So it'll be like Tarkov, where you just move around the map. There's probably going to be like a 30-minute timer. And if you're on the map still at the end, you're dead. But there's probably going to be a bunch of static extracts. And the thought of an ice giant plus ice dragons. And it sounds like a kind of open map to me if it's like an ice world. So probably range will have a good time there. I don't know. I'm pretty excited for it, especially with the I don't want it to be its own update. I think I'm personally really excited right now for Druid plus that. Like, it'll be a huge content patch. I don't think they're gonna wipe, but they easily could. What
I
do you
can see
think, Nate? Are
going
they
either way.
gonna wipe? Because this feels like it's like a couple weeks out to me. Because originally they said Christmas or early 2024 in January.
I think it might be delayed. I think it might be until the end of this season, whatever this is. If they're going the full 3-month season, like it says on the in-game notifier, which they it said that in the past they wiped prematurely, so don't hold them accountable for that. But I think they need more time. It feels like they need more time. I could be wrong. We could get a surprise ice giants in a couple of days, and whoopee, I'm happy. But I think they need more time for the ice map. I think they're not ready.
I agree. They've got so much going on with the recent office relocation, hotfix 25, monitoring the ping lock stuff, which Ken, like you said, it's probably not working the way it's intended to work. They've just got a lot of things up in the air. Still, the injunction still it's almost Christmas, and we still don't know about the damn injunction, which way that's going. There's just a lot of stuff. And my gut tells me that we're not getting it this year. I'm like you guys, I hope I'm wrong, but it feels like it's going to be a mid-January type of thing, which doesn't feel that bad. I mean, this new map rotation, regardless of what side of the fence you're on, like it or hate it, it's something different. And I think it's an overall W. I think the people that are saying, well, I want to just play this one map, you don't get priority over the other people that wanted to play solo and they wanted to play crypts. Like, sorry, your wants don't supersede the wants of everybody else in this case, and you can still play the map you want to play as much as you want to play it, but you might have to play it at a disadvantage. You might have to change your party size. So you still get to do what you want to do, just not everything you want to do all at once, and it opens it up to other people. So I think it's a huge W, and it's definitely changing things up, and it'll keep things fresh for a little while. Right before that came out, for like, I had half a day, where for the first time I felt a little burnout. And then they announced that hotfix 25 was coming. I was like, oh, I'm back, baby. Let's go. It's time. And then, 7 hours the next morning, I'm in there. So,
and to elaborate on that just a little bit more, I feel like a lot of the problems and that people are complaining about, I think all that could be solved with the Steam release and a big influx of players, and then them just making it so you have solo, duo, trio as choosable game modes for each map. I think you can't do that right now because the player base isn't there. But in a world where Steam release happens and we have a big influx of players, we have enough players to support that kind of choice and doing whatever you want, I think it'll be fine. But until then, like, this is what we got, and I think it's fine.
That's fair.
So we got Herbology with this patch, and something interesting to talk about with the Herbology is right now it doesn't really do anything.
They don't stack.
It's they don't stack, but they craft potions that do stack. So you might as well just craft the fucking potions.
That's right.
But regardless, there was a Reddit thread that I saw. I think I want to say it was earlier today. The time kind of blends together when you spend all day playing Darker, but there was a post about, like, can we just give Iron Mace a fucking break? Like, you guys are all crying about you want this now, and I want this now, and we were joking about that last night. It's like, gamers don't deserve shit because Iron Mace is working their asses off, and we're still just like, where's my this? Where's my that? I'm not happy. I don't. It's pretty clear that because they're adding all these things, and they've talked about at length about adding things like backpacks and expanding your inventory and having a personal personal like housing guild. It's clear that they have a really big scope in mind for Dark and Darker, and they want to do like huge things with the game. And every time they add one of these new layers, like the Herbology thing, it sort of like kind of paints a broader picture of what they're trying to do. Do we want to see Dark and Darker reach the level of Tarkov where you just have like there's so many different things to do that it's almost overwhelming?
I don't think you can stop it. Like, it's so obvious that it's heading there. We're already almost to our fourth. Like, how many maps does Tarkov even have? Like, it's been out for a decade, isn't it? Like 6 maps.
Yeah, well, I mean,
we're already
are also enormous.
Yeah, so I just want to
really, like yes, but no.
People complain about stuff all the time. We like have gripes and stuff, and on this podcast every week, there's always something negative we talk about. But Like I don't think I don't think I've ever been on here and complained about them adding content. Like whenever you're
Right.
just adding a new crafting recipe, a new item, a new weapon, a new armor type, a new like I'm never complaining that they're adding stuff. Like always add stuff, always just compound
Mhm.
Well,
content. Like,
do we see potentially the complexity of the game increasing? Like
I
we've
think
heard a lot of complaints about people saying like the melee needs to be more complex so that it doesn't feel like as much of a gamble to get in melee and it doesn't encourage range damage as much. Like Josh, I know I just cut you off. You were about to say something there.
no, I was just going to expand on the Tarkov situation. Just finish by saying I feel like we're already almost there because we're at 4 maps, we're at quests. Now they've broken it down into quest chapters. So as far as activities to do and complexity of game outside of combat, and with the recent Herbology update, I think all of these things are adding to way more things to do and more choices to be had, which is just good content, like Nate said.
Mhm.
Anything they add is positive, you know. And now we got the new Chris animation, we got the Warhammer, like you said, there's like 40 new items, even if we don't have them yet, that are coming. But as far as melee goes, I don't really feel like we need it. I think if they continue to develop the subclasses and then we get druid, you know, sorcerer, monk, and whatever else the future holds, plus at some point the training tab with cross, you know, multi-classing, we don't need a more complex system of fighting because there's already so many things that you have to learn. You have to think at some point, like Nate said, when we get Steam release and an influx of players, they're going to come into a game with like 5 maps, like
Yeah.
150 hours
I
of
was just thinking
questing,
that.
like 6 bosses. Like who knows where we'll be at by then? Like how much more are they going to have to learn? Because already, like you know, it's a hard game. PvE is hard. PvP is always different. You never know what, you know, mid range, chip damage, poke, all that stuff. I don't think we need like a Mordhau chivalry game. Like we have a really good combat system.
Yeah, I think the people who have been, you know, mentioned things about updating the combat system have all kind of said the same thing, which is that we don't want it to reach the extremities of Mordhau or Chivalry.
yeah, you
because
don't
it's
want
just-
that.
It's too
No.
much.
That's too much.
The
But
game's
I-
already hard enough.
I think there are things you could do to make melee more interesting, though, because like I said, it is a little boring. It is
agree.
kind of dry. So, not all melee like people like Longsword chads are fucking great. I
Fucking
love
love
the
Longsword.
buckler, but I think there's definitely things you could add to melee to make it more interesting without making it a Mordhau or chivalry or a Mountain Blade or type directional blocking game. Just like different attack animations that like different attack patterns. Like even the halberd just having the right click, that's a different attack angle. That matters sometimes, and like that's cool. And not all weapons have that. And you can just add just small things just to make it fresher.
That's true. I have felt lately, and maybe it's because I finally reached sort of the apex of my own abilities. I know, and we all do it with skeletons, right? You duck this Vi, you know, shift around the, you know, sort of vertical attack from the Nightmare Skeleton Axeman. I have felt those skills coming to light in PvP because of how fast the TTK is. If you dodge one player, you know, even one attack, you duck the Barbarian's Vi, you know, sort of duck and shift around the Falchion attack from the Warlocks. That's like the clutch that you need to clench to win the fight. And because of how close fights are now, at least for me, I don't know, it only takes one. Like, I know what you're saying to make it more complex, but if you actually learn all the weapon patterns in the game, you do have that moment to crouch over to the left, crouch over to the right, jump to take leg damage on like a Bach hit or like you know, like a reckless strike from Barbarian. And so those things, like there is a lot of complexity. It's like niche. I don't know.
I agree. I think that I think the move sets of the weapons can be expanded, and that would really be enough.
Mhm.
You know, I think you brought up Zoander is a really good example. Something that a lot of people probably don't even consider is the fact that if you can make it so that the barb has to swing with a wall on his right and you stand against that wall, it becomes almost impossible to hit you.
That's obsolete.
And having yourself be like sort of checkmated in that situation feels bad, although mechanically or just like sort of knowledge, it does feel good for the player who exploits that weakness. So there's kind of ups and downs to expanding the move lists for the weapons, but I do think that there is some, you know, there's some room for them to improve basically all of the weapons to give them something.
Barbarian is boring and
It's very
lame.
one dimensional. It's
And
very one dimensional.
if I just had a Zwei out and I hit like the T button and I could just change my stance with the Zweilander and I could just like half sword it and like have a different move set with my sword, that would just add so much to the game and so much to the class
That'd be
for
fucking sick.
for so little upfront development time. I think just a no-brainer. It just because that class sucks when it's not broken, when it's just not this insane stat stick of a class. It's dog shit because there's no skill, and no offense to barbarian players, but there's very little skill expression in the barbarian moveset, and I just wish you had more stuff to do.
Yeah,
I agree 100%. I think
give them buttons to press.
I agree with that, but I also think it's okay to have the lower skill classes. Like as much as we see complaining about people against, warlocks and wizard, those are two of the, in my opinion, highest skill classes in the game. They could have high APM, they could have 5-10 spell. Those, I think it's okay to have like a basic class like barbarian, which serves its purpose very well despite its sort of boringness. But like, I don't know, like Odin was saying, with the game sense required, like they can checkmate you on a right hand wall, but then you just swap the Viking sword. And so like there is like a play counterplay and very like micro thoughts that are required to clinch the fight. And my biggest thing is, how complex do you want the fight when you're dead? It's like back to lobby and now you're like on a 30-minute, trade guild window to buy things and re-gear and this and that. And now there's 10 players, like, I don't know, the amount of third partying and the time to heal, like I don't want the fights to go on for too long or be too complex, because already your game sense drives these fights immensely. Like, I don't know what your guys' survival rates is, but I feel like even with thousands of hours, there's times where I just get deleted. I'm like, oh, I needed to do this or that. So like, for me, it's already pretty complex with, 8 classes going to 10 and like 50 weapons to learn. Also trying to like tease out the warlock to be like, is it phantomized? Is it Bach? Like, I don't know if I should push this or peel. And so I don't know. It's already a lot. I think just more classes and more items, and we're there personally.
Yeah, I said I think you could add like skill expression to classes like barbarian and fighter, but it not be mandatory, right? Like you could still just play the W key quarterstaff barbarian, and still be effective. But like I just feel like I wish people had the choice if they wanted to put time in to go above and beyond and have more things to do and get deeper into the class. And I use barbarian as fighter as like an example because they are a little simpler than some of the other classes.
Yeah. I will say that some of the issues of melee not feeling as expressive is, I think, due to the issues with the responsiveness of the game. The performance of the servers has definitely been degrading, and there's a lot of desync. There's problems with hits that don't seem to connect in the right spot, and there's some of that's to be expected with an online game. You're never going to have a perfect environment, but I remember looking at some clips that I recorded of like when I played in the early playtests and like early access, and like the response time to when I would break a pot even was like it was like instant early on, but now there's a delay and you can really see it, and it becomes especially apparent with Longsword's back, and we're not there yet. I do want to talk about it, but Longsword is way better now. Because it's way better, I'm using it a lot more, and you can definitely still see some issues where it's just like shit's just phasing through the parry and it feels bad. I think some of the problems that we have with how melee combat feels has to do with the servers kind of suffering right now.
Totally agree. I know Ken ran into this the other day. You had a rubber banding issue that got you killed. I had, and it was really subtle too. Like if you're not dialed in, if you're not an experienced player, you could blink and miss that. I had the exact same thing happen to me today while I was getting chased by the warlord, and it almost got me killed.
Yep.
But so I totally agree. The servers are definitely experiencing issues, and I know Longsword players probably feel it more than anyone else out there.
Shield too, although Shield is in a weird spot right now because of the shield block. Because everybody figured out if they actually managed to fix that, because I could have sworn after the hotfix I saw some shield interactions, but I could have just been imagining.
I haven't played since the fix, but just to touch on the shield thing, I don't want them to. I think it's great. I think it makes sense too.
I like it.
It's like how shields actually work in most games that I play.
Yeah.
Like for instance, I had a buckler on my back the other day, and I was getting chased by a barbarian, and he's Francescaing me. I hear, dink, dink, and I'm like, I feel so good.
You gotta hit my ankles, you idiot.
No, the rise of the Pavis meta.
I was gonna say, I do think Pavis probably needs to have some kind of penalty to your movement speed if you're gonna have it equipped, even if it's not in your hands, because that's a little. I feel like you could actually be very broken with that in melee if you're just like spinning every time you swing and they just hit the shield on your back because you're just spinning in circles. there's some problematic things.
Oh,
that come along with
dude,
that.
Zwei Pavis Barbarian or fighter. I mean fighter. Have
Yeah.
the piece in the back and the
You're
Zwei in your hand. And you're
spinning with the
spinning.
Zwei.
Oh, dude, we're cooking. That sounds
Get
good.
on the warlord with that, dude. Just start DPS him down, spin in a circle. He goes to swing at you. Say he ain't hitting shit.
Oh,
Easy
man.
mode.
It's not a bad idea. But yeah, I actually like the shield bug. I think there should be a feature. It's
Agree.
weird that that's a bug though. Like how? Like what happened? What did they do to make that a bug?
It only happens. The thing is, too, it just doesn't work until you take it out. So it's definitely a bug because it only works when you take it out, block something, and then put it on your back. And it doesn't work against melee attacks if it's on your back. I did just remember that actually.
Yeah, only against range.
It only works against projectiles and like throwing haven't tested if it works against spells. It might only be physical projectiles, but
no, because it blocks heals.
it block.
Yep.
Damn.
So say your teammate's trying to heal you in the back and hit your yeah. So
Oof. That's gotta feel bad for clerics right now.
Yeah. But yeah, I kind of hope they use this bug as like an eye-opening thing to maybe in the future changing the way shields work, because I think shields should give you some kind of bonus when they're on your back and when they're just like you're holding it in your hand. Because in every game I played with shield, I know we don't want the game to be like Mordau or Mountain Blade, but like that shield is something you should have to consider when you're swinging or shooting, and I kind of like that. But I digress.
We've gone a lot of different directions already. Odin, you got us on the herbology topic, or actually maybe So Bad did.
Oh yeah, so back to herb.
Yeah, back to herbs.
So let's talk about herb. The crafting recipes changed a little bit. Did you guys notice that ruby silver can now be crafted?
They fixed that.
They did. Okay.
Yeah,
that was today's fix.
Okay.
Yeah, that was definitely a mistake, and for sure.
Okay. Protection
herb
potion
and a potion,
and a green herb,
ruby silver cuirass.
Yeah. That seemed a little odd to me. All right, so that's fixed. Can you craft any item other than potions with the herbs right now? And what direction, if not, what direction would you like to see them go with herbs other
Surgical
than
kits.
just crafting? Okay.
Surge kits, yes. Also, I think we should be able to get herbs as a drop. It feels like an afterthought system at the moment compared to mining.
Do you guys know anybody here played Monster Hunter?
No, haven't.
In Monster Hunter, you have a tool that puts down like a healing mist, and you have to stay inside of it to get the effect in the radius. It's decently long cooldown. The healing isn't crazy, but it's helpful, especially against like dot effects. If you take poison or if you're on fire or something, I think being able to craft more items. If we're talking somewhat about the herbs and somewhat about the combat complexity, we talked about this on a previous podcast, especially honing in on letting fighter be the jack of all trades and use more tools in combat. I think if we're going to expand on the herbs and like start making smoke bombs, give us like poison traps, give us like little AoE healing mist that your team can stand in and get a light heal over time. Something that's useful for like bossing. There's a lot of ways they could go with herbs. There's so much cool stuff that we could get if we're going to start having just like little crafting mats just hanging out in the world that we can find.
I agree, and I'm glad that you mentioned that, because I wasn't really sure where they could go with herbology. But now that you brought that up, we could also have a purifying thing where you throw it on the ground and all dots are cleansed. We could easily have something where you can specifically craft something with an affix that you like. Like you can use herbs to make, let's say, jewelry that gives plus physical healing or plus magical healing. That way we can actually aim for things that we're really interested in. And it sort of relates to herbs as well, because it's the healing side of it. So I don't know, that'd be fun. Or you could have another slot. It's kind of like, I can't remember which game it was, maybe Witcher, where, yeah, it's Witcher. I think you can like, you get like a higher tier pipe, and then you get better buffs from it. And so we could have like a pipe in this game that gives you like +1 or 2 physical healing or magical healing, and you craft it with herbs or something.
That's some wizard shit, right? That's some wizard shit right there.
Yeah,
dude.
the
wizards
a little slot.
Dude, the wizards are just fucking hitting the pipe and vault right now. We gotta go stop them before they get too high.
Meditating piping.
They're just gonna be fucking zapping the whole room if we let them smoke that shit.
Tavern Master could give you a quest reward of being able to blow the pirate ship out and smoke.
Ooh, like an emote.
Yes,
yes.
That's something I think we also need more of, is like some cosmetic or like like emote, just like extra things as quest rewards. Again, we're on the really early and I'm sure they probably already have stuff like that planned. But if we're just talking wish list, you mentioned having crafting jewelry with specific stats on it. I like the idea of finding materials to craft because we already have sort of that chase where like you get wolf pelts for the the wolf hunter leggings. More stuff like that where you can get deterministic rolls would be great, but I wonder if they'll ever consider adding an NPC that at a very high cost can let you modify a certain piece of gear to change a roll. You get a legendary that has a 3 out of 4 bis roll, but then the fourth roll is just like a shit roll that you don't need. If there's some way to change that roll and make that item godly, that would be something that would make players really invested, I think.
Yeah, like for instance, like, just like hypothetically, like say the ruby silver craft, say ruby silver pants, nine ingots, and then a pair of blue pants, and then what if there's like a catalyst slot? You put X, Y, and Z herb in it, whatever herb it is, and then it say it's the strength herb, whatever that equivalent would be. Then it'll randomly roll one of the rolls on the ruby silver as strength, the guaranteed. Right.
Yeah,
but it could still low roll. It could low roll. It could high roll. Doesn't matter. But like one of your affixes is going to be strength, and you invested an herb cost to do so. And I think that'd be kind of cool. I know it's like a weird tangent, but
no, I like that idea a lot.
I think
exactly. Yeah, really good idea. Currently, crafting is very based on active gameplay and watching refresh timers, and that's not good for casuals. I don't even feel like it's good for me. Like when I'm looking at gold gear every 30 minutes all day, and I'm like, when's this gonna roll decent? Like it would be nice to have random rolls for value only, but we, like you're saying, you put in like a a certain herb or like a little extra ore, and I'm like, I want strength and vigor on this, and it will roll that, and it just rolls 1 to 3. I'm like, oh, I low rolled this bad, but like at least I got the rolls I was looking for. I think that's something that should be added, and also
I think that helps casual players too because it lets them feel it lets them achieve a more cohesive set based on a play style that they're trying to fulfill.
Right.
Like, and that's something that really only like the top level of players is able to do because they have enough money to sort through all the junk gear and get the shit that they actually want. Yeah. If there was more deterministic crafting like that enchantment slot or the deterministic stuff, I think that's good for everybody.
Speaking of casuals,
it can't even be limited to herbs. It could be I cut you off. It could be herbs. It could be like gems too. Like if I put a legendary gem into my gold gear, oh baby, I could build my affinity gauntlet or something.
Okay, how much stronger are we making this fucking build?
But sorry to cut you off, Scott. You continue.
No, you're good, man. You mentioned casuals a couple times. How do you guys feel like the game is for casuals right now? Specifically, let's start with questing.
It's hard to connect, if I'm being honest. None of us are casuals.
Right, but do you guys still have a buddy or two, maybe, perhaps, that falls into that category or no?
Yeah, no, I definitely do have friends that are casuals, and they seem to be having a great time when they do play. They don't play like every day like I do. They might hop on once, twice
a definition of week. Casual.
Yeah, you know what I mean. But,
once or twice a week, that'd be fair.
When they play, if they have stuff, they're going high roller, and when they're down bad, they just go to normals and until they have stuff, and then they're like, "Hey Nate, you want to play? We have some stuff," and I'm like, "Sure," and then we have fun. And they're also they're competent gamers too, so like that's good. But I mean, they have options. Like they won a bad run, and then I just saw them playing normals. I hopped in the Discord, and they're just like, "Yeah, we had a bad couple of high roller raids, ran into some fucking chads. So now we're just playing normal for a bit, and we just killed Lich." I'm like, oh, the system is working, at least from my perspective.
How much do they care about the quests?
Oh, they're doing them, but like they're not. They're stuck on the boss quests.
Yeah,
like a lot of casuals are.
I think the quests need to be account wide. Yeah,
I totally agree. We did mention that, but Josh, I want to ask your take on this. Is if you're Iron Mace and you release this quest system, what percentage of the player population do you think is going to get to the end and complete all the quests?
1% or less.
In 90 days? If we're going a full wipe, I think that more than half.
No, what? No. I haven't even finished them yet.
Yeah, I'm not doing them.
Like, it's so much, and the odds of getting a legendary gem, you need 4 of them. They have like a 0.07% drop rate, and most of those people aren't going to be bossing and treasure hoarding. They're going to be getting wiped, and you can only get them in HR and only once in a while. Like, I haven't seen a single legendary gem on any of my characters this wipe. And then the troll pelt situation, like, man, to say half, like, I want to say 1% or less.
I think 1%
Even over 90 days. Like, I
it's
play 12
really
hours
high.
a day and I haven't finished them.
And I don't have the desire to finish them.
Yeah.
Like the rewards are good, right? Like what you get for what you're doing, you're getting good value there. But to me, the juice ain't worth the squeeze. You know, I'm not, as much as I want that sick gold gear, I'm
Yeah.
not going to, you know, just be unhappy for 100 hours to
Mhm.
get it. I'm sorry.
And like I burned out doing troll. I've seen a lot of people burn out trying to get the spider silk or the troll pelt, and it's just things that are near unobtainable to the point where like I really would like it to be account wide.
Yeah.
Because also, as
Well,
far as I
account wide
made it on my
helps, yeah.
fighter, it doesn't help any of my other classes. I don't want to swap to my fighter to check refresh timers
Right.
and then swap back.
Well,
And so
also,
it's a pretty big inconvenience.
as we talked about before, nobody wants to feel beholden to a specific class because they
Mhm.
got so far on a quest
Mhm.
line.
Yeah,
And it does
especially
feel
with
bad.
8.
Yeah, I mean, like we play all day, every day. It's, and we still don't like the fact that it's not account wide. We still
Right.
don't like the fact that, you feel if you're focusing on quests, it feels like you have to play a certain class. Imagine that for a casual player who's like, I want to dabble in rogue. Well, shit, I only got one stash tab. I don't have any of this stuff available to me. My vendor doesn't have anything. I can't trade to myself because there's no shared storage. I do think it's obtainable in 90 days. I might be being a little generous. There are
Oh,
certain things like
it's
legendary
definitely
gems.
obtainable.
It's obtainable.
But
yeah.
like, who's wants to obtain that?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Maybe-
it's fucking hard.
The amount of difficulty and commitment that's required. Let's be charitable and say that it's 5%, which I still think is ridiculously high. The amount of people
Mhm.
that get to all of the quests done, and let's assume it's account wide too. I do think they may go in that direction. That doesn't change the actual difficulty of the quest that much. Like you may be able to choose a different character that's going to help you beat the troll. Like, Bard would be better than Cleric, or Rogue would be better than Cleric for beating the Cave Troll. But do we think is that where they should be with that? Should it be 5%? Should it be 1%? Like, what's a good target to feel like, yeah, I can do a lot of the quests, but you don't want to give the casuals everything. You got to reward the tryhards and the pros. But what's the happy medium there? Because I know, like, I've kind of grinded my way through a lot of them. And I feel like the Lich and Ghost King are doable, but man, the gems and the troll, it's like when I get to those being the only two left on my list, I'm going to want to slit my wrists. Like it's brutal.
So to touch on it, so you're using the word hard to describe all these quests, but in reality, I don't think like they're hard. I think the problem is that they're just grinds. They're brain dead grinds that you don't want to do, and like sure that is hard in its own way, but I think there's ways you could have hard quests that aren't grindy quests where you kill 100 wolves, you don't get one pelt, and if that's a feel bad, you just have quests that are difficult but not grind based, like they do X, Y, and Z on this map in one raid. Whether visit all these locations and kill this and maybe kill like that's like a hard thing to do, but it's not like you grinding the same mob over and over again to no avail type thing,
Mhm.
and
Right.
that feels I don't know.
Maybe rather than having the quests be like this, we set this target. You do XYZ as a checklist thing, because design wise, you're setting it up like you're giving the player a checklist, and you're not tailoring the gameplay experience to that. I think it should be the other way around, where you should have an expectation where, like, if a player has played for 60 hours, they should be able to finish the quests, and you should have that in your head designing the quests. That the way that the completion metrics for them should be designed around, like, how much you want to reward a player versus how much they've played. Maybe there's with the quest chapters, 60 hours is going to be fine for most players, but for the people who really want the highest tier of rewards and everything that they could possibly get, it's more like you got to play for 150 hours. Not specifically play for 150 hours, unlock everything, but just like the mindset of, especially now with the rotating maps where their expectation is that people are going to be visiting all of the maps, the quest design should be built into by the time most players have played for 60 hours, they've finished all these things.
And sorry, and just to continue about my grinding point, I you can have grindy quests, right? But I don't think you should ever have a grindy quest be like a gatekeeping quest, like other quests locked behind it. You could have grindy quests, but it just can't be in the way of other stuff. So you could just have them on the side that you do passively over the course of a wipe, but it's not like holding you back from the rest of the line type thing. Like the 15 lich
wisps.
kill, the wisps, like the 15 lich kills. Like you could have that be a quest, but not it be the gatekeep of a quest. Just be like, okay, if you do get this done at some point, it's a little bit of a bonus, boom. But like not the end all be all gatekeeper of where you're questing for the wipe stops because you're never doing it type thing. I mean, I'm not sure. I wish the quests were just more satisfying. And like I said, it's early. Get off Iron Mace's back. This is the first iteration of the quest line. It's obviously going to be flawed. It's obviously needs work, and I think they're listening. You got to give them time to cook.
I mean, I think the rewards are really good. It's like you said, some of the ones that you're locked behind, like even Centaur Hoof. I've never ever seen one this wipe.
Yeah, I haven't either.
I've killed hundreds of those fuckers. Like, where's my hoof at? I would like another stash tab. Maybe make it so stash tabs can be bought for 10k. Into infinity. Like, where's the negatives here?
Well, I think it should keep going up in value. I think
All
it
right,
should be
30K.
30K. Yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
fine.
Well, I mean,
if people are spending
like 3
money
or 4 keys, yeah.
Yeah, if people are spending money, that's good.
The only problem I have currently is that I feel like, and this may be an unpopular opinion because it invalidates the value of the gold chest and the bag, but I feel like gold should just not be stored as a physical item in your stash. I feel like it's just something that should have at a vault or a bank or something. I will tell you right now that for a majority of players that I've talked to outside of like the hardcore group of players that I know, and I've even experienced this myself, the frustration of needing 10k gold with 2 stash tabs, the actual amount of space that 10k gold takes up is insane. It's actually hard to make enough room to have all that gold to buy the stash tab.
I had friends like, hey, can I borrow your gold chest so I can fucking stash tab?
We were talking about that last night.
Literally me. Yeah, I asked
even
Jay,
dude,
Griffin too.
it's been like 6 people. It's just like it's a common issue. It's really funny actually.
Yeah. When keys were 10k, I was like, let me give you 2 keys and you just give me that gold chest because I just don't want to go through the effort of moving everything out of my stash. It's worth 10k to me.
But you can also solve that problem with like you kind of like the quest where you can put in a certain amount of the quest item at one time. I could put in 2,000 out of 10,000 gold into
I like
my
that.
next stash tab. And
wait, that's a really good suggestion. I wonder if anyone suggested that. That's actually a really, really good suggestion. Let me go put that in really quick.
That'd be a huge quality of life.
That's a really big QOL.
The other reason that I mentioned maybe having gold be like in a vault or something is because if we are going to get an auction house, actually having physical gold that you have to use back and forth between that interface is going to be a real big pain in the ass, I think. And it's probably also going to be ripe for abuse, potentially like dupes and bugs and shit. I mean, it feels unavoidable no matter what. Whenever you introduce a new system, that somebody's going to find some way to exploit it. But I'm from a pragmatic point of view, I don't see the benefit of having gold be a physical item in your stash. It doesn't serve any real purpose except to just eat up space in your stash, which the reason that they originally put that in there is because they said themselves that they wanted to create more friction in the game to just make it more difficult to progress. And now that they've sort of let up on that design philosophy and they've understood that these things that they originally thought would be good for the game are now just things that nobody really wants. Gold kind of feels like that it's still just like a lingering part of that, like having 10,000 gold in your stash. It's just like, why?
Yeah, well, I was gonna say just like Tarkov that I thought I was like, but Tarkov doesn't have that. But since it's so easy to get money cases in Tarkov and you have way more room, it doesn't feel like money takes up space in Tarkov because it's so easy to fucking store it. So, but yeah, and it just has like the little money, the ruble counter on the top left. So
well, my thoughts were that too is when we get backpacks, as they've mentioned, the extra Tetris slots in our inventory. Will we be able to put those backpacks into the stash and then just put shit inside of them like Tarkov? Because the weapons and armor case and the ammo case, the money case, all that stuff in Tarkov is really useful and you can name them. So do we want that level of organization in this game? Or are we afraid that if you can hold that much stuff, you never have to buy or sell anything? Unlike, let's say, the auction house or trade guild. And how do you guys feel about trade guild? I used to love it. I wanted it so much back in the playtests. Now I feel like we can just phase that out and we should just have an auction house now.
Yeah, every time they change the filters around and add things, I'm like,
Just put Noxious Acid.
Give me the. I know the.
Yeah.
Well, it's not that easy. Like that's something that kind of interface takes a
Mhm.
long time to get working properly. So like, given they said they're working on it, I know they are. Just the Traco fucking blows. That's all I'm getting. That's all I'm gonna say.
I'm
Paragraphs
you
of
brought up-
items, 8 ingots each.
I'm glad you brought up backpacks, by the way, because a few weeks ago when they talked about backpacks, they mentioned something about it being tied to resourcefulness, increasing your stash base.
Mhm.
I fucking hate that idea. I can't stand the idea of that because that's another thing I think will end up being really clunky and broken. Because if you suddenly like mid raid lose 2 resourcefulness and now all of a sudden there's something in your stash that like I could see maybe they put like a little red border around it and the item becomes inaccessible, or like you lose it at the end of the raid if you don't have the resourcefulness for it. What I would like to see instead is have backpacks, like your main backpack, your main inventory be interface as normal, but backpacks are putting things into your backpack and taking things out of your backpack and accessing the utility within your backpack should be based on resourcefulness and like action speed. Maybe it's something you can only use while you're resting, just to add another layer of you do have to take your time with this. If you're going to have all this stuff on you, there has to be some drawback. But just like, okay, I've got this pair of play pants that I want to keep, but there's all this treasure. I don't want to choose between the two of them. One of these has got to go in the backpack. I'm going to sit down and put this in the backpack. If you have a ton of resourcefulness, you're a fast class like rogue or ranger, you do it really quickly. If you're a cleric, you're like, fuck, I got to sort out all my holy trinkets and figure out where I'm going to put this thing. What do we think? Do we want resourcefulness just being straight tied to stash base, or should they do something a little more creative with it?
I don't know. I think, like, I mean, what do we get for all that effort type thing? Like, what does that add to gameplay? That's, I don't know. I like backpacks. I like the idea of sitting down for like a backpack. That makes a lot of sense, but I just don't see where resourcefulness even ties into that.
Yeah, I
I
kind
don't
of agree.
I think the backpack should be a cape slot. And
Yeah, I say that. It should have no stats.
Now you lose stats
Mhm.
and a cool looking cape to get a backpack, and everyone's going to see you with a backpack and probably try to kill you because they know you have a bunch of trinkets.
There should
So
be capes.
I
There
think-
should be quivers. There should be backpacks.
Yeah.
And they should all take the same slot, and it should be an active choice. So what you
Do
use.
we think though that if they add backpacks in the cape slot, anyone's ever gonna wear capes again?
Yeah,
Yeah,
because they have
definitely.
stats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll
So
just kill
just
somebody
think
with a
about it.
backpack, and I'll just
You're-
take their best blue purple trinkets, and I'll leave the other shit in there and just keep moving on. That's a lot of stats on a cape.
If you're like a sweaty team too, like you might just have one guy on your team who has the backpack. He's the fucking the
That's true.
cleric in the back. He's the
Yeah.
mule, and then you have your 2
That's
front
true.
lines.
Yeah.
That's how I would
That's a
do
fair
it.
point. That's a fair point.
Hey,
Yeah.
we did get a question from chat over here earlier, guys. You were talking about the gold box. How much does that hold the chest? How much gold does
10K.
that hold? It's 10K? Okay.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's nice. Yeah,
Yeah, that is
big
nice.
change.
That was the point I was trying to make. I saw LC type in a SPS strat, that with the way that points work in HR for your rank, would you ever actually take a cape over a backpack when the opportunity cost is so high to wear the cape versus having the backpack and then taking out like an extra 1,000 AP worth of jewelry and stuff?
Well, that's
I mean,
I
you're
think
not gonna get
that's
that
a whole
many
separate
slots.
issue.
Yeah,
That's a whole
that-
separate
yeah.
issue. The rank system is just dog water.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
But I like
do
the
we see them keeping
idea.
it?
I like the idea of somebody bringing a backpack to try to get more AP, and then they're fighting somebody with like, a 3 dex cape that's statted, and they narrowly win the fight, and you're like, ha, shouldn't have worn a backpack, stupid. Like,
Yeah. And like cape slots are like super important too, because you can get some of the
Yeah.
best stats on capes, like
It's a
like true
choice.
magic
True
and stuff.
damage,
Yeah.
yeah.
Nah, I would like that. Like, I like the choice between greed versus functionality. Because you do it in Tarkov, sometimes you take the pilgrim out in Tarkov, you're slower, and you have a fucking blue target on your back the entire time. Like there is a risk to that opportunity cost.
Yeah. Is greed good?
Greed is good. I mean,
It is always good.
Yeah, but then cape. I like it. I think we should go that way. It used to be where when I first talked to them back in 2022 October, there was the mention that resourcefulness would unlock those little Tetris slots, and I could still see that being a thing. But like you said, it is weird if you trade out items mid game. Like, I don't know, just make that a backpack. There could be 2 qualities of backpack, like a really high quality backpack that gives you both Tetris slots, and then like the lower tier that's like vendorable from the merchant that just gives you 1. And there's not that much space in there. It only looks like it has like 8 slots or something. Like the 1 and then like a double 4, maybe 9 slots. It seems like a good system.
I can get behind that.
Yeah.
Ken, you still playing the cleric? How do you feel about the warhammer?
Oh, I think it's the best weapon.
That's so great.
Really?
I think it's not even close.
Mhm.
I love Warhammer.
Mainly,
Wow.
what's coming from the perspective of somebody who uses smite. So I think it's
Right.
very good with smite because it attacks so fast. So you get way more bang for your buck per smite activation, and it already has the increased armor pen. So like you just see a fighter, and I'm like, you're not a
Yep.
fighter. You're just some guy now to me because I can pen all your armor.
Yep.
It's great. Yeah.
I think it's awesome for PvP. PvE, it has issues though because the range is really poor. So if you're fighting elite or nightmare monsters and you don't have a lot of gear on and you're trying to use a warhammer, like the amount of space. Like,
Yeah, the range is a
have to
little
be
bit
pretty-
shorter.
Right.
You have to
feel
be
it,
pretty
yeah.
flawless in your movement to not get hit by the mobs, I guess is what I'm saying. The
Mm-hmm.
Warhammer increases your risk for PvE.
I think it's just familiarity.
That's what the shield's for, you know.
Yeah, well, I
That's
mean,
the
you do have
buckler's
buckler.
for.
You do have
Yeah.
buckler, which is the fucking best item in the game right now.
It is.
I
The
love
buckler's
it.
so good. So good. It's so fun to just 1v1 champions and like berserkers and just block
Oh,
attack,
yeah.
block attack.
It feels like that that experience that you have with buckler against PvE needs to be expanded to more things in PvE, like more ways to interrupt the enemies, because buckler is so fun to play with that it almost feels like you never want to run with anything that doesn't have a buckler. I mean, obviously not every class has access to that, and there should be drawbacks to, but it does raise the it does sort of raise the concern of like, well, now they're getting rid of cheesing as much as they possibly can, and some of the AI is really difficult to deal with, where if you get hit once, you're just fucking dead, especially on like a squishy class. Buckler being so good for so many things and just being so satisfying to use, maybe there needs to be new mechanics to deal with PvE mobs. I've seen people say things like add like a shove ability to every class that just gives you the ability to like push monsters off of you. I don't know how well that would work with things like Berserker.
Some Project Zomboid type shoving.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's been trapped in a corner by skeletons because of some kind of janky.
That's not a bad
collision.
idea.
Yeah.
Most games they do like a kick or something, and that also like stops blocking. So I've been saying that for a while. I would love just like kick. If every class could just have a kick that could disable a parry or something, I don't know. And they could add that to pushing back mobs too. It could be a multi-functioning ability. But I could see that being useful because I have had times where I'm just in a corner and there's two mummies and I am checkmated. I have a Zoy and I cannot swing.
Yep.
I'm like, yeah, well.
And you're this big, strong, especially on Barbarian. You're like, I'm a big, fucking strong Barbarian. You tell me I can't push these stupid mummies away the way? Like, yeah.
Yeah, but you shouldn't have had the rock for brains to put yourself in that situation.
I'm a Barbarian. I have low knowledge.
Well, you're dead. Don't be in the corner.
Well, I should be able to get out of this situation with my strength. Okay?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
They should have been dead before they got you in that corner.
Now, here's I know this isn't a very important topic to talk about, but I think it is. And this is a very divisive amongst even just the members of this call. Spider mummies should not be able to fucking bounce you around like you weigh nothing. It is so aggravating the way the interactions of spider mummies work. And
they should die. They should take damage when you step on them.
Yeah, if you you should be able to, first of all, I think you should be able to just walk through spider mummies, just period. And they should slow you down a little bit when you walk through them. The trade-off there is that it's easier to get hit if you're trying to walk through spider mummies. So they become a little bit more threatening in that matter, but they're never going to trap you and get you stuck and just fuck you up because the server said you get super bounced into a corner and now the spider mummies are on you and GG. Get fucked, idiot.
Whenever there's a PvP fight that happens and there's spiders involved, it's the worst thing in the world.
It's the worst thing.
It's the worst thing. There's just like there's like some pot somewhere in a dark corner that you can't see, and then a fight breaks out, and who's close to that pot loses the fight. Usually, that's how it works.
Sick the spiders on them.
I fucking hate that so much.
Yeah, I don't think that's a hot take at all. I don't think you're getting anyone to disagree with that.
I see Josh over here.
I am on the other side. That's game sense right there. That's game sense. Okay, listen, I lost Pestilence, I lost Gold Keys to the Spiffer Mummies and Goblin. That was a long time ago, and now I absolutely respect Spiffer Mummies. You don't take that fight, or if you do, you try to position the spiders to be closer to them. That's game sense in action. Plus, most classes have access to throwing something. You just break the pot. You know, you make it happen. I think that it shouldn't change. And it's never more satisfying than when they try to attack you and you move a little bit and then they get blocked and you're like, ha! You shouldn't have pushed me. You should have killed those spiffer mummies. I don't know. I like it.
Spider whisper over here.
Yep,
All right.
masochist spiffer mummier.
All right, dude.
No kidding.
I don't know, man. I mean, it's not like it's RNG. They're always in the same places. Like, where they are. Like, don't fuck with the hornet's nest.
Nah, you heard it here, guys. So bad loves the spider mummies. When he's the only one.
Yeah.
Morticia Adams.
Play around it. Play around it.
I'd rather just not play with it. Or it worked properly, at least. They can still be there, just like not, rocket jump me into space.
Let's
How
take
about
a
this?
quick trip. No,
So if there's a realism. All right, so IRL, right? Say
Okay.
for argument's sake,
1 foot wide spiders attacking you.
okay.
I'm
Let's just say for argument's sake, there's 15 of them. I can still get through them if I wanted to in real life.
Oh yeah,
I'm a tall guy. I'm a little agile. I can get through them. They might nip
You're
my
trying
ankles.
to jump over 15 1 foot long spiders.
Dude, they're not
Okay, first of all, if we're talking real life, the spiders aren't skittering along the floor trying to smack you with their front legs. They're leaping at you with fucking fangs, 2-inch long fangs.
This is horrible. Let's change topics.
Yeah. Okay. So if we want to ride this train, we'll ride this to the fucking.
No one's jumping over 15
mummies.
1 foot long spiders. All right, you're in a corner
You're
screaming.
covered in spiders.
Yeah.
Dude, you haven't seen my vertical leap, all right?
You're bouncing. You're inside of them. You're like tumbling. You're fucked. We died to spiders. They're like this big. Imagine if they were 1 feet.
Yeah,
That
well,
means their
that's venom.
fangs are
It's
the size
different.
of butcher knives.
You know what? He's got a point. Put venomous spiders in the game that just auto kill you.
Yeah.
You have 5 minutes to extract or you die.
you gotta bring in the antidote unless you got
you have
the
to craft
herbology crafted
herbology,
antidote.
yes.
Yeah.
Nice.
Okay,
And you
Okay,
can
but
use for tumble. For tumble,
so-
if you backflip onto a spider, you actually crush it. I think
that should do
is great.
damage. Actually, that should do 5 damage.
All right, so let's take a trip down memory lane real quick because I sent Josh the IGN video that announced the playtest for Dark and Darker earlier. And I don't know if there's a good way for us to pull this up on stream for everybody to watch it together or for us to all watch it together. But if you want, I'll post it in the group chat and you guys can kind of just watch it on the side. And you're going to see some interesting things in there. And you go, oh, wait a minute, I remember that. Or wait a minute, what's that? They've talked about that before. And this is all the way back like 10 months ago. You see things in there like wands, like the wizard is holding a wand in his right hand and a crystal ball in his left hand, which I thought was very interesting because the crystal ball's no, I'm crazy. Crystal ball is the left hand.
Anyway,
yeah,
magic wands.
There's wands in there. The purple pots were on the ground. They already had trios and goblin caves. Although it looked like the goblin cave was part of the crypts. There's a lot of really interesting stuff in there that has now either been added to the game, has been mentioned, is coming. There's a bunch of assets in there that were, I don't know if they were removed because they weren't public use, or they might have been Nexon or whatever. It brings up the question with the data mines that Ryan 6 days a week showed, like probably a month and a half, 2 months ago when we first heard that Druid was going to be coming. Do we like the idea of more simple weapons being added, like mages getting access to like a wand that just shoots a really basic projectile? It's not very strong, but it gives them something to just sort of pepper enemies with. Are we're adding all this like magic resist gear? Are we going to start having PvE that's very magic damage heavy? Are we going to have to start worrying about what equipment you're taking to what map?
I like that you said that. With the thought of Ice World coming, you could definitely see like an Icy Odin and the Ice Dragon both having maybe like a breath attack or more magic centric. I mean, Goblin Mage is already very, very strong, but it's one of the only magic monsters in the game.
Well, Ghost King Scream is magic damage, by the way. Like,
I didn't know
magic
that.
damage though.
Oh,
is it true?
Yeah, it's true.
That doesn't surprise me.
You can block with Eldritch Shield.
That means it's not true.
I can't prop block true melee.
Yeah, I'm not sure that works actually. If it's true, then that makes sense. Okay.
We need somebody to test. I've been told it was true magic, but I could be wrong.
I dislike the recent nerfs to Wizard and Warlock now that we have MR gear. I think we don't need to make the magic classes weaker if we can counter it with magic gear, because no one's going to wear the magic gear anymore since now they're weaker, right? Or is that just is that a hot take?
They still do plenty of damage.
Yeah, but everybody does plenty of damage.
Well, I think you always want to have the choice. I think the
Mhm.
choice is always important because metas change all the time. Who knows? I think I've been saying for a while, everyone should have the choice. If I want to sacrifice armor to worse the MR, I have that choice. And then when some fighter gets one shot from me because they have a million armor and 0 MR, they can't complain anymore because you made that choice to hedge your bets in this direction. And
Right.
I think once you give players the options, the choice is on them. And then if they get shit on by a wizard or they get shit on by a rogue and they're wearing full MR like that, that's they made their choice type thing. They hedged their bet and they lost type thing. I think choices are always good. Give players as many choices as possible to have as many diverse builds as possible. I think it'd be funny as hell to just have a fighter who just full stacks
Full magic res.
full magic res, and he's top father the fucking wizard hunter. You know what I mean? He's like, I have had it to here with these fucking wizards, and I am on a mission to
So
hunt them all down.
I hit 30% MR on a set I was working with today because I ran Barbuda, which has magic resist. I think it's one of the only helmets that has magic res. I think Barbuda and Visor Barbuda, Visor Barbuda also has will. Dark Plate has magic res on it. Dark Leather Legs, Dashing Boots, and I can't remember what gloves. I don't think the fighter has access to any gloves, but I had like magic resist on my shield and a couple percent magic resist. I hit 30%, and it's very noticeable when you're fighting a wizard. Ice Bolt and Zap don't just annihilate your health bar like they did before. I think that adding gear like that is a really good idea to just give people the option to maybe try, and it leans into fighter being more a jack of all trades. Give fighter like the ability to go for this fine-tuned balance where they're not super weak to anybody. I like that they're adding those options, and I hope that they give more classes more interesting options like that. Rogue being really pesky with poisons and hand crossbow and knives right now is great for the game. I love that. So bad's been playing rupture weak point, no stealth. Super cool to see shit like that.
Oh, yeah, the no stealth build has been a lot of fun. I mean, for those that don't know, they boost daggers. So now I have increased dagger damage. I've got 20% perk armor pen, and then weak point 40%. Plus, you can get armor pen on, I believe, capes and jewelry. And so I'm walking around with like 75% armor pen as long as I have my cooldowns up. Those, it's crazy. Like the fighters, they almost always talk shit in VoIP. They're like, "Oh, you're just a rogue," and like before they can even swing one time, I'm like. And they're just dead. I'm like, God, that feels so good. You know, like the PDR player has been walking around for too long.
Great for them, you know.
Yeah, that TTK with the
Very
Chris dagger and the
gameplay.
Castagnone. Yeah,
No,
but like
I had somebody tell me that 2 swings could never happen in 0.5 seconds in this game. Like, you haven't seen a rogue with a Chris dagger.
yeah, it's hard because the TTK is low for everybody. Like Rangers can 2-shot you in the head, Wizards can 2-shot you with like a direct hit firebolt.
Yeah, I mean, I think time to kill is way too short. Just in general,
Mhm.
I've been saying it for a while. It just has to be longer. It really does, even
That's
just a
weird.
little bit.
Because we lowered stats, but really the damage is very similar to where it was. A lot of people are hitting even with a one-hander for 100, and two-handers go to like 130, and our health pools start at 90. So unless you're a barbarian, but is that where the game needs to be at? Like it does feel like a BR, and I think when we get the auction house, like the time between matches will decrease, and I think that'll make it feel a little bit better for everyone. So I'm just not
Hot
sure what the
take.
devs' vision is. Do they want low TTK? Like it's a
Yeah.
shooter?
Hot take, I think the low TTK is sort of just a byproduct of the way the game is designed as a BR. Because if you have like really high TTK, we've talked about this before, you're way more prone to get third partied if you have really high TTK, which is something nobody really enjoys, but there is some enjoyment to the aspect of like dealing with a third party if you have the ability to get away from it. But because people's movement speed is relatively low, and because the maps are so cramped and outside of ruins, and you're so likely to run into monsters in the next module over, it's like actually pulling out of a fight is really difficult. It usually just ends up with the team that's running away. It loses somebody and then they're just sort of down. And because you have all this gear on the line, and you can't get your teammate back without going and getting all their shit back, and they like them getting back into the game without their stuff is basically just you just leave the game at that point. I think they want the TTK to just stay high so that these committals pay off. When a team full commits, they win or they lose based on their short term decision making.
I think it could be a little longer. I think there's still a lot of one-shotting happening, and I'm doing it sometimes. And I think it's a gear scaling issue. But I just don't know how you fix that without just overhauling the game. I think I've been saying,
Mhm.
just give everybody just a little more HP, just a little bit.
Yep.
Like 50, man, just 50.
Or like a resilience stat that reduces damage that you take from players. So that you can keep the HP relative to where the monsters are, and you don't have to rework all the monsters' damage and stuff. But you can just slightly lower the amount of damage. Or I've even seen people make the suggestion, and I don't know how I feel about this, but like put a hard cap on how much damage you can take in an instance from something. Like a fireball's never going to exceed 60 damage to somebody or something.
No, interesting. Me and Subed come from a game called Darkfall, and that game actually had that. I totally forgot. Like 90 was the cap of like if like you at most if you hit by the hardest thing in the game with like the best gear in the back or something, it capped at 90, and like you had like 300 health in that game. So like there's like it had much longer time to kill than this. But yeah, I didn't even think about that. It's not the worst idea actually.
I mean,
It
you
would
want the
also
skill
stop rogues
expression.
from just deleting people. In game.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it's also like an invisibility thing. Like, there's a lot of mechanics that could or could not be reworked if that's what they're interested in, either more health or less, burst damage across the board. But like, I'm fine with how it is. I think it'd be fun to try it differently. Like you said, if everybody had 50 more HP, it would also help you against monsters. So I don't know. I like the damage cap idea too. Like maybe as a percentage, you can never get hit for 60% or more of your HP in one hit.
Random idea that popped in my head on this, somewhat related. How do we feel if we change the weapon tagging so that if you take a hit face on, you don't get slowed, but if somebody's hitting you in the back, the slow is actually worse than it is right now.
Yeah,
Or
I've seen it
leg.
like that before.
Yeah, or leg hit.
Yeah, like I feel like that's a way to increase the mechanical level for melee without actually changing anything. Is like deliberately aiming for somebody's legs to keep them slowed so that your team can stay on top of them. Or if you're a plate fighter or you're a barb and your shout's not up and you're wearing a chest armor, you can stay on them by hitting them in the legs. So it gives them more time to live because they're taking less damage from limb hits, but you get to stay on top of them. But they can turn around and try to take like a chest hit to not get slowed. There's a little bit of outplay there too. They could just turn, eat a body shot, and then take off because you're still recovering from the swing. Could be something cool to experiment with.
Yeah, it's not the worst thing. I like that.
Agreed.
I like the idea. I said I'm talking about Darkfall again. The game basically you didn't have headshots, you didn't have arm press or anything, but you would take 40% more damage to the back always. It was like rogue backstab. So like it was like an anti-run mechanic, and it was a chase feature. So like if somebody was running from you and you're chasing, you had an advantage because you're the aggressor type thing. And I'm not saying that's what they should do in this game, but just to kind of touch on like your back attack idea, I kind of like that. I think it's way too easy for someone to just turn their back to you and W key away. And if they have more movement speed than you, some classes you just can't do anything about it.
Yep.
Rogues, I'm looking at you.
Yep.
And Rangers too. Actually, Rangers are so fast.
Rangers are fast. Yeah.
We haven't even talked about balance yet. We were an hour and a half, and we haven't even touched on balance yet.
It's balance time. So you should lead us off, Mr. Demigod.
Sure. Let's talk about wizards, because I do that sometimes. They finally nerfed magic missile.
I do that too.
They finally nerfed it. Not in the way I think they should. I think they nerfed the base damage on it from 12 to 9, but they kept the scaling at 100%. So the problem isn't solved. The problem was high scaling, and geared wizards were destroying people, and geared wizards are still destroying people. That being said, they made the right choice. What I think the solution should have been all along is the shield change. So now, yes, magic missile does lots of damage, but now there are things that classes could do against them, at least shield classes, clerics, and fighters, which were the two classes that were on the receiving end of magic missiles more often than not. Barbarians have inherent magic res, rogues and rangers are fast enough to not get hit by the missiles most of the time. So I think the shield change was actually the biggest wizard nerf. And I think that was a good change because it's skill expressive, and that's how you should address these kind of issues. I don't think nerfing the base damage on lightning or magic missile is good, because all that does is stop the level 1 wizard who's just trying to level their character up from killing mobs. That's all that does.
Right.
I think. Right. So, fuck that guy, I guess.
Yeah, but it also stops the naked wizards from just roaming around the map rampaging.
They still just do that with lightning strike and fireball.
Well,
I almost got two
the lightning
tapped by
strike nerf.
fucking Fucking, I was playing with Hippo the other day on Ruins, and Glocktain almost 2-tapped me with Lightning Strike.
Yeah, missile. So was missile a problem last season? I don't think it was, and it was lower scaling, but had the same base damage, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, unless like the Mighty Savage is that
And
busted.
can we just please get we're doing Iron Mace? You're doing better, okay? We're getting better with the middle ground stuff. Why can't we try this with magic missiles? Why does it have to be 50 or 100? Can we try 75, please?
No, God, no.
Put it back to 12 base. Try 75% scaling. See
Even
how it
numbers
feels.
only, dude.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so just touch more on the wizard. They
Crystal
also
Ball.
nerfed Lightning Strike. Oh, we'll get there for sure. But
That's
they
a
also
good
nerfed
nerf.
Lightning Strike. They nerfed the damage slightly, like 5 base damage. That's fine. But then they nerfed the AOE of the radius, which I think is actually that's how I wouldn't even touch the damage. I would have just touched the AOE. I think that was the problem. Is it was just so easy to hit against your blocks. It's a very
It was
low
undodgeable by slow
counterplayability.
classes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and now it's
And it's slowed.
Yeah, and it's slowed. Now, if you have to be accurate with it, and if the person is like moving, you have to lead it. You can't just like always hit it 100% of the time. So like that's good. I think they could have kept the damage, but whatever, it's fine. They can nerf damage people.
They fixed explosion not applying fire mastery, which is an indirect buff to explosion, and that's a good thing. I still don't know if explosion is all that great because of the base damage nerf, but it does feel a little bit better now. And explosion is still really useful for the fact that you have a lot less threat of like hitting the wall or hitting your teammates or anything, because it's a hit scan, and it seems to have a very, very precise even though it's a really large orb, it seems like you can really thread the needle with explosion. So I think explosion feels better now, but I just don't know if you ever run it.
Yeah, explosion is not seeing a lot of play. I know Jay uses I use it sometimes, but like usually it's one of the spells in the chopping block. But it's like it's good, and sometimes you use it if you have fire mastery, and that's the definition of a balanced spell in my opinion. It's like I'm not always going to use it, but sometimes if I think it's good in the meta, I will use it, and I think that's perfect. I think explosion's in a great spot. I think it's good that they fix that bug. And what's the last thing about Wizard? Oh, the crystal ball changes.
They changed will scaling too.
Yeah, I haven't been able to test it. They were so vague in what they said. They're like, I don't even know what the sentence means about the will, but we need further testing to test that stuff out.
Crystal
Crystal Ball, insane. Actually, probably the biggest buff Wizard has had in a long time is they reduced the movement penalty on Crystal Ball by 10. So that is massive. And Crystal Balls have the base magic damage. They have base weapon damage now, and now they are faster. That's huge. That being said, it's still dog shit.
Have you been able to test with a rondelle that has magic stats on it?
But daggers also got buffed. So I really do think Ignite is back.
Are we getting Ignite Wizard back?
Yeah, that sounds like Ignite.
It's back. I don't think anybody knows it's back yet. So
plus it boosts Warlock as well with the Crystal Ball change.
Mm-hmm. So you play? I don't play that much Log. I play a little bit. Is like Ball Falchion viable?
I mean, you do a lot with Bach, just without the ball. So you put the ball on top, then it becomes almost more like the magic staff.
I always thought it was huge.
Cast with it
because you can get magic healing on a Falchion, and that's like massive.
Yeah, and you can get MH on the ball, so you can actually combine those two to be. I don't know if it can be more than a book, maybe.
Well, you can get 2 and 2, so you can get 4, I think.
Oh, so 4, and that'd be
I've
more
seen
than.
I'm pretty sure I've seen 3 on Falchions before magic healing.
If that's the case, then
it could have been. It could have been in a previous patch. I don't know, but I'm actually excited to jump into talking about Warlock, and before we get really into it, because I know both Josh and I have played a lot of Warlock. Scott, have you played any Warlock at all? Have you dabbled in with the class? I know you're pretty big on Cleric and Bard, but have you had any experience with it?
So yeah, when it first came out, I played it quite a bit, but this latest patch, so since questing started, it's been very minimal. I think my Warlock is like 16 still. He's not 20, but yeah, I know enough about the class to be dangerous, but certainly not an expert. I like it. I still think they need to do a few more things to finish it off, but overall, I enjoy it. I think it's a good class, and I think the Crystal Ball change definitely was a huge help to it, because it always felt really punishing to try to run Falchion and Crystal Ball and take a negative 50 move speed hit. Is Falchion negative 25?
Yeah, worse than some two-handers. Yeah,
yeah,
that felt really bad. But
Well, Josh,
I'll
you're
revisit.
coming off. You're coming hot off of a Warlock permadeath. So talk to me about your most recent feelings on the class.
I mean, I think Warlock's in a really good state right now because it can play a variety of subclasses. I think it's probably one of the highest subclass builds in the game because a lot of people use Flamewalk. They've gone away from the MH build, which is pretty expensive, trying to stack magic healing, and now they just go Hydra plus life drain without taking Torture Mastery. There are a lot of good perks and good skills and good spells for that class. You can also play it purely as melee. So I think Warlock's in a really, really good spot. This is probably the closest we've been to true balance in a while, although I think we didn't see like a lot of Rangers, but I also don't feel like they needed a Longbow buff. Today, I've almost been one-shot by Longbow several times on different classes already, and
It's crazy to me, by the way. Rangers got a lot of buffs. Right? Rangers got a lot of buffs.
We'll talk about that.
Yeah.
Next. I have thoughts on that too.
We're getting into it.
I'm not gonna.
I want to. I want to
finish the Warlock.
Just finish Warlock. I think Warlock's in a cool spot, but they also have access to a ton of different weapons. Now you got books, 2-handers, 1-handers. Now Crystal Ball is viable again. So I think Warlocks are solid. And then I think Dark Reflection does a ton of damage. Soul Collector is a really fun ability. You can really trigger your own dark magic against it to deal some very high damage.
Meme Beam is no longer a meme. It's actually
does
pretty
Meme
considerable
Beam,
damage.
Yeah, that devastates.
I still think it's meme.
Bolt of Shadow is strong. I think it's a good class.
I think the main problem that Warlock has right now is that caster feels really bad. And I've heard Katie echo this frustration, is that if you die and lose your kid on Warlock, you don't get to play the Warlock that you were just playing. You have to play a different build because
for sure
your base knowledge sucks. Magic healing is pointless basically when you have no gear. It doesn't feel very good. You're sort of relegated to the Shadow Bolt Hydra life drain bot until you get enough gear to play magic healing, if that's the way you want to go. But the Warlock, when they're in really, really strong gear, and I was watching Reposte do this, is like it's menacing. It's ridiculous how powerful it is when it's in super good gear. So I think if we can smooth out the curve to make the lower ends of caster a little bit more playable, it'll be in a really good spot. But I want to say there's one build, and I showed you this build, and we tried it with Slinky, and I think it's really interesting. Nobody's really committed to actually trying it. Is a hybrid fizz damage, magic damage Warlock where you're playing buff ball around the Warlock. Bloodstained Blade, they just fixed Power of Sacrifice to actually give you the vigor now. So on a base kit with like a little bit of health, you can get up to like 140 with Power of Sacrifice while you're in combat, and you can Eldritch Shield yourself to make sure you don't take any of that damage. Bloodstained Blade, Eldritch Shield, Blow of Corruption, Dark Reflection, Dark Torment, the Soul Collector. You can make a Warlock hit like a fucking truck with the Falchion Crystal Ball. The problem is that if you go with Blow of Corruption, you have basically no mobility. I'd love to see people try actually pushing that a little bit more with like Warlock, now that, you know, maybe the Rondell Stab Wizard is back. I'd love to see people try Buff Ball, Bloodstained Blade, Eldritch Shield, Power Sacrifice, Haste, and Viz Ignite on a Warlock and just watch them 2-tap an entire team.
Or just put that on the Ranger now. I think the Longbow with all those buffs, that's a 1-tap.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Bloodstained Blade, I think, does work on bow. So yeah, that's a good point. Bloodstained Blade, it does magic damage.
Yeah, it does.
As weapon damage. It's magic weapon damage. So Bloodstained Blade Ignite is going to be a problem on bow if people start doing that.
And Boss Katie and Jay were doing it. They're doing the divine buff off Cleric and the Bloodstained Blade on the Ranger with Serve Bow. And
my god.
So
my god.
That looked fun.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Same brain.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about Ranger. Why did Ranger get buffed?
I don't
know.
I
mean, honestly, populace-wise, I think it was one of the least popular classes, especially in solos. You almost never see them. I played it at the start of the season with really high SR, but you have to specifically play now with the stat split. It's not a strong melee class anymore. You can't go toe-to-toe with any other class, even with the spear out. So now you have to play around your traps, and traps are limited. So I feel like that class is way more defensive than it ever was, and you really have to land your shots. But it was still very effective. I had like an 85% survival rate. I was climbing. I got it to Voyager very quickly on my way to Demigod. I don't think it needed buffs. I just think you had to play differently. So I disagree with these buffs. The
buffs made no sense. A lot of the buffs didn't actually do anything. Like a lot of them were just like abilities that no one really used often, and I think those are fine to buff. But just to talk on your point of it not seeing much play, I don't think a class not seeing a lot of play is merit to buff it.
Agreed.
If classes could just be unpopular for other reasons, like because maybe they're just not fun and satisfying to play. You know.
I'm gonna be
Yeah,
honest
or
with
as
you.
Iron May said, it's a boring class.
And no offense. And I'm gonna be honest with you, and no offense to any Ranger mans out there, but Ranger was fucking boosted before the stat split. And if you played Ranger and you were rolling lobbies, you were playing on easy mode. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
That's
for sure.
just how it is, because you were two tapping anybody, even fucking PDR fighters. You were out DPSing people with a spear out. Spear Rot was like literally out trading PDR
Absolute
fighters.
Yeah.
It was so fucking broken, so that when they actually got brought down to a mostly reasonable level where they were still a very strong class, people were suddenly like, I don't just auto win everything for free anymore. Fuck this class. It's like
the Barbarian effect. Yeah,
you've come down to the
rogue,
world
or
of
the rogue effect.
Or the rogue effect, definitely.
You're on the,
right.
Yeah, I remember when rogues, when the landmine meta was up, and then they got they did get pretty gutted, but they were still strong in gear, and they're the class that is the easiest to get gear on because you could just rat to get a full set in HR Crips. And this is before all the other changes that they made. They had the easiest access to gear. I don't want to go on this tangent for too long, but Rangers were boosted. I think they were in a good spot before they got this buff. They didn't need it. Longbow rapid fire is ridiculous.
Yeah. Also, the longbow buff is the one that makes no sense to me, but I know exactly why they did it, and it's a problem Iron Mace has had for a while. It's they look at the stats, right? They love looking at stats, but they don't look at what the stats mean sometimes, right? So they're probably looking at the stats like, oh, Longbow's not seeing a lot of play right now, so that means it's weak, right? So we should buff it. But do you know why it's not seeing a lot of play right now? It's because divine bows are so easy to craft. And the recurve bow, people are crafting legendary divine bows for free, so they're just using them like infinitely. So naturally, you're going to see a low amount of longbow play by comparison.
The other thing
does that mean longbows are not weak at all? I play with rank 1 Ranger on my team all the time. Primarily, he's insane, and he always uses longbow, and he makes the class look busted. Like we're just fighting sometimes. Like we'll be in a fight, and he'd be like, "Oh, Wizard's dead. Ranger's dead. A Rogue's won." I'm like, we're like a mile away. We're a mile away from this team, by the way. It's just it's ridiculous.
I was doing that with a recurve bow last night, and to the point of longbow being less popular, I don't even think it's because the weapon was bad. I think it's because recurve, again, the availability of recurve, high-end recurves is just so much better. But also the recurve is a more forgiving weapon. It has less movement speed penalty. It is faster to fire. The arc isn't hard to aim. It still has great range, and the drop off is like basically non-existent from what I've been able to tell. It is just a very easy to use weapon. Survival bow is much harder because it's faster, so you're able to stay more mobile, but you have to keep a shorter range between you and your opponent if you actually want to reliably hit your shots, unless you're aiming up like this, trying to hit some guy on the other side of the map. Longbow, if you miss your shot while the team's running at you, the time between shots is longer. It's a slower weapon. If you're not in cracked out gear, you're not going to get away from people if you miss your shots with longbow. So longbow was a higher risk, higher reward weapon, and it should stay there. Now it is a fucking railgun that just deletes people. It doesn't need to be that.
Yeah, I think the main problematic buff is the longbow damage, which, you know, I understand why they made the mistake. It makes sense to me based on their previous actions. But the rest of it, I think, like they buffed what? They buffed quick shot. Or quick shot's very good, actually.
Quick shot.
But underrated. Nobody uses it, so like I see why they buffed it. Forceful shot. Oh no, they buffed forceful shot. Oh no, like, that stuff doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Quick shot longbow though is fucked up, and now and the problem is that longbow is the weapon that. Yes, I understand survival bow could output insane DPS with quick shot if you were really accurate in hitting all your shots, but the main thing about quick shot is that it makes up for the weakness of the longbow, which is that the shots are very slow. You can get, and you reload faster while quick shot's active. Not a lot of people know that. I don't know. I don't think it was the right thing to do to buff longbow that much. I think if anything, recurve could have probably used a slight nerf to further incentivize longbow being used. I don't know how much you want to nerf it because you don't want Ranger to suddenly just now lose the PDR fighter flat out.
It felt good because now it felt like we were at a point where like it was a choice. Like all three bows, like serve bows obviously the worst, but like all three of them had their application and it made sense. And now it's like, why am I just not using the weapon that was gonna one shot everybody that I hit with it? Why wouldn't I use that? That reloads fast and shoots fast because I have quick shot and a low cooldown now.
Yep.
So You know,
All right,
it just
exciting.
kind of homogenized the class again and made it one dimensional.
And they keep having that problem with Ranger.
Yeah.
I think there's more that they can do with it, and I think it revolves around removing traps. Even though traps play a really small part in the meta right now, I feel like, which is really weird because they're still so powerful.
You don't have to remove them. You just have to change what they do.
I know we've talked about it before.
Yeah.
Just make it something different. Just make it something different so that the class has more. Because another thing is that Ranger is really boring to most players, and I've heard people echo that sentiment, is that the reason that it doesn't get nerfed is because nobody at Iron Base plays it because it's boring. And people were only playing it because it was really strong and it was free wins, and it just felt like trolling the entire lobby. If you played like triple Ranger, it was just stupid. Regardless, let's talk about something a little bit more exciting, and I want Scott to lead off on this one because Caster Cleric is back. The ranged nuclear bombs have returned. Nuclear Cleric has been legalized. How do we feel about Locust Swarm that nobody is going to use still, and Earthquake back to two spell slots, right? You get 2 casts of Earthquake per rest now.
Yeah, that's right. So ironically, I have not given it a second thought. I looked at it when the hotfix came out. I logged in. It's like, yep, 2 Earthquake charges. Great. I'm still going down to see the Lich, and I'm not taking Earthquake. I need cleanse. And Holy Light and Sanctuary and Holy, what's the other one? Lesser Heal. Yeah, like for the majority of what I'm doing, Earthquake still has no place in my kit. Now, if I start running trios again in HR, I could maybe see it being useful again. But I don't know.
It's sort of the
still
replacement to
takes...
Sanctuary.
It's funny that you say that because I have the opposite opinion. I went from not using Earthquake at all. To instantly, that's all I use now. It's my most casted spell again.
It's so good.
Really.
Well, that being said, like I said, you need that because when it's just one, it's not enough. You can't justify taking 2 spells of your 5 spell kit being one-time cast, Resurrect and Earthquake. So like now that it's 2, like it's back and it's good in the right team. You can't use it every team comp. If you're playing like a melee focus comp, you don't run Earthquake. If you're playing like Fighter, Barbarian, Cleric, you can't because the Earthquake will fuck your team more than it fucks you, them sometimes. But if you're playing with ranged characters, Ranger's like the best example. I play with the Ranger, very good Ranger promo. And like if I Earthquake a team or if I Earthquake one of those squishies, they're dead because my Ranger's behind me and he's ready to beam them, kind of thing. Then they can't move. And I set up so many kills now because of Earthquake. I get to be way more aggressive than I usually get to be, and it's back. And I don't think it's OP because the spell itself isn't killing you. Like it's a setup spell. Like I'm not like one-shotting teams with Earthquake.
And
it's
you
like,
can get clapped back really easily.
Yeah. It's a skill shot that's channeled. It's one of the best spells in the game. It requires them to not know what they're doing or to panic and not to return fire since you're standing still. It's a really good skill.
If a Cleric catches you in the open with an Earthquake, which is a pretty close range spell, you messed up and you're getting punished for it type thing. And at the end of the day, that spell isn't killing you because I'm investing 2 of my teammates to kill like one player type thing. Like it's like I'm standing still channeling, and if you're a wizard, you just shoot me in the face, by the way, or a Brandy, you shoot me back in the face. Like that's not hard. I think it's the perfect spell. I'm glad it's back to 2. I could even see them nerfing the damage on it further if they wanted to, and it still be viable. That being said, I still run Sanctuary with it, by the way. I drop Holy Light now.
Oh, really?
I don't Holy Light anymore.
Well, when you have a lot of gear, Holy Light is kind of obsolete.
Well, it's still amazing, but it's just like it's hard to fit all the spells. You only have 5 spells as a Cleric.
Right.
Yeah, you can't run no light heal because you need the fast heal on demand,
And if you have enough magical healing, that light heal is hidden for a lot anyway.
Right.
Also, Locust Swarm and Earthquake have both been converted to magic damage. So they do have a time and place because Earthquake used to be physical, right? So it wasn't as effective against let's say PDR, but now like a lot of classes aren't built to take magical damage. I like Locust. I think Locust has a time and place. It's just it's way off meta, but I was enjoying it on my solo Cleric for Goblins because, like we mentioned earlier, Goblins are so hard that people would be engaged actively in a fight against a Bola or an Archer or like 1 or 2 melee Goblins, and then I could just Locust. And it does not. Okay, so again, time and place. Time and place.
Play minigame real quick.
If they're not looking at you and you Locust, it does an immense amount of damage if you're not ready for it. It's 7 per second without including 7 per 0.1 It's like 70 damage if they just sit in it. It does a lot. It
All right,
does
Scott.
more than a Holy Strike would do.
Scott, how many charges of Locust Swarm would you have to be able to get for you to justify using it? Like right now it's at 2. How many would that number have to be for you to be like, maybe I'll take Locust Swarm?
2 per point 1, so it's 20 damage per second, not including any of the shit that you have. I'm talking true magic damage, additional magic damage, and a bunch of will.
If
So
I
the
had 4,
context is important. No, I think so. What Josh is saying makes sense. If you can catch people off guard with it, I think that makes a ton of sense.
The AoE is huge.
It's
Yeah.
different
It's like
in
half the
solos.
module.
It is
so
different in solos.
in your context situation here, when would that be better than Earthquaking them? If they have a boa on them, what does
That's
Earthquaking?
that's fair though. Actually,
Shit,
if they have
yeah,
a bola
actually,
on
wait,
them,
hold
they're
on,
gonna
wait,
get
yeah.
fucking bola.
Hold on.
That's actually
Wait,
that's
Earthquake
even
is
better
better
because
there.
then they
Hold
can't,
up.
then they can't dodge the fucking.
Oh, they can't move. Yeah, wait.
They have a bunch of mobs on them. You earthquake them, they're fucking dead.
I'm sorry. I mean, I hate being right all the time, but it's
Okay, so you since rogue ambush meta is really in right now, you need locust as
To get
just
him
like
out,
just a
see,
cast. Yeah, it just gets him out.
Yeah, right. So you
that's how
cast,
the cleric. Yeah, I see.
Mhm.
right. So you cast it, and then while you're casting it, they run up and fucking stab you to
You
death.
fucking pray they're not there. Yeah, that's all bad.
I could see
Holy
Locust
Strike.
Swarm being viable real quick if they made it not channeled. If you were able to move while using it, even a limited
Oh.
amount,
Yeah.
I
You
like
just
that.
place
would
it. You place
would
it, and
make
you
it a
can move
usable spell. Because
Like a meme beam.
like
Then
Earthquake,
they have a
you
zoning-
need to take that
They have
risk.
a
Like
zoning
you
escape
need to.
tool.
Yes.
Or if you
Yeah,
could
you
move, if you
can
could
use
move
it to
with it, like
disengage.
meme beam. Yeah.
I
Right.
here's what I want. Okay, Druid is gonna have some form of grasping vines. I can already see it on the like I can see the writing on the wall. They're gonna have
Yeah.
something that'll impede your movement.
And thorns.
wi-
They've got to have thorns.
Wizard should get like Ring of Frost or something that allows them to create space and get away from you. It doesn't have to do damage. Maybe it just slows. Maybe it's very brief, or maybe it's just like a half second immobilize or something. But it's
Like an
a
AoE
commit.
bind.
Yeah, it's just like
Yeah.
or like a trap that they can place. That you have to wait a second, or you run. If you run through it, you get slowed. Maybe you could jump over it if you're not aware it's there. I don't know, something like that. But in that same vein, I would love to see Locust Swarm be a deterrent from pushing. You just cast it, and if your team is trying to hightail it out, or you're on the back foot, you could cast Locust Swarm as a zoning spell. I think more utility stuff like that would definitely be really welcome if we're gonna expand how many spells classes can have. Because it does come down to that. Every time we have a balance badge, it's like this, and this is mandatory. How do you actually justify taking anything else in its place?
Yeah.
I know I just like said 2 separate things.
No,
but
no.
Now the question is, and we've talked about this before. Do we want to expand the spell wheel and give classes more spells, but make it so that they're not adding like explicit offensive power to their kit?
I want to be honest. Since I've recently become a cleric, man, I think 10 spell cleric looks way more balanced than it used to be.
You're right. Yeah,
Hmm.
of course. Judgment. I want to say Judgment real quick before we get off Cleric. Judgment and Holy Strike feel really good in duos right now. It feels like the way to play Cleric in duos at the moment, which is I think kind of it doesn't feel that way in solos or trios because Judgment got nerfed so much that like in the straight 1v1 situation it just doesn't. It doesn't hit. Like
There's a lot of
early
ways to
People
play
don't
cleric.
expect it. People don't expect the Judgment though. I've been running Judgment whenever I play solo.
Yeah.
And it's
Well, it fell out of meta.
If I'm trying to
Yeah,
PvP, sorry.
way
If I'm
off.
trying to PvP in Goblin Caves especially, people just don't expect it. So
Mm-mm.
they W key you and you get off a quick Judgment and then you're on them. It's a game changer. It's nice.
Yeah.
Mhm. No one uses it anymore. It's been probably like everyone's Spike Cleric
it's
now, especially
range.
Bonk staff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, the Judgment had the range, the the targeting range or targeting radius, and the damage reduced from where it wasn't early access. I think we all forget that it was literally like delete half of someone's health because you saw them in your room.
Mhm.
It was fucking toxic, but I think it's in a decent spot right now. They can probably increase the range a little bit, give people a reason to run it because, like you mentioned, Smite is just so strong in trios that I can't ever see a cleric not taking it, especially now that they added Warhammer. It's just a fucking DPS machine.
I think there's a time and a place for Judgment for sure. I think there's a play style where you play like the Earth Wizard, the meme build, but I don't think it's a meme. Right? If you go Holy Strike, Earthquake, Judgment, and you play like a lighter gear set, like a faster gear set, and you.
I've been
'Cause, like,
trying to put a kit together to play that.
The problem with the Judgment, anyways, I feel like the range you have to get into to hit it is the range where somebody can close the gap on you and bonk you in the face while you hit the cast. I think that's the
It
problem. I
needs
think.
more range. Yeah.
Yeah. Or well, that's what I'm saying. If you're just a faster player and you can cast a little faster, if it is casted a little bit faster, not even range,
Mhm.
if you could just cast it
that
a
too.
slightly faster, and then if you're fast enough, being able to get away from the guy closing the gap on you, that I feel like that was all it would need. It's just like a small cast speed buff, but keep like the low range.
All right,
But I
fighter.
still think it's viable.
I'm really excited about the fact that Cleric has so many builds, and it makes me hopeful
Mhm.
for all the other classes. I think Warlock and Cleric are both the two classes that have the most build diversity at the moment, and I'd love to see the other classes get that kind of attention, especially the Barbarian. Like you mentioned, it really does feel like it's just the stat check class.
It's like, are you getting spicy
Yeah.
with the quarterstaff? Yeah, that's at your
Yeah.
expense.
Also,
Um,
Rogue. Rogue has a lot of subclasses.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Rogue feels like it's in a really good spot right now.
And
I
Bard.
think
Yeah, it's like, are you the one shot landmine rogue? Or are you the rat naked mining rogue? Are you the troll the game pickpocket
Wizard
rogue?
Rogue.
Or the weak point
Wizard
Rogue.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think like the pick point rogue.
Fighter is the class that Reddit was fuming about for like the last month. And
Well,
I don't think
no direct buffs, right? But
it got the shield slam buff. I think it has potential. It definitely has to be explored. I think in melee versus melee fights, it's strong because of the defense mastery and counterattack perks. But you're building specifically to use that skill, and it comes at the cost of either sprint or second wind. So whether or not it's actually going to be good, who knows? I don't think so, because giving up either one of those things is just
can I touch on that real quick?
Yeah,
Like I hate to be pro fighter guy for a second, but shield slam should be baseline. It shouldn't even be a skill slot. You should just be able to do that with shields.
hold shield and then attack.
Yeah, that
to
should
do
just
the
be
shield slam.
something
agree.
you could do with shield. I don't think it would be strong or too powerful. Just something another button you could press.
That is something I suggested in passing like months ago. I always wished that there was something more you could do with shields besides just hold it in front of your face. So it being baked into the shield class for fighter, maybe you have to take a perk to use it. Then
shield mastery, but like not like a fucking
Yeah.
skill slot. One of your two buttons that
Right.
you press, that being shield slam, that's ridiculous. Unless it's like insane.
It
Fighter
has to have a
to
charge
take
attack, and it needs to send you like 7 feet forward when you press it to close space.
a little charge. That
For
would
real,
actually
like,
probably
it's
is
no,
fun.
useless. The damage is
if
so
it's a
small.
skill, if it's a skill, like
Yeah,
it needs
if
something
it's
like
a
that,
skill. Mhm.
Yeah, if it's a skill, it should be a gap closer that also has like some kind of like
It does like a
side thing.
fourth of the damage of just left clicking again.
I
So
think
like
I think it scales, so it is going to do more damage the more gear you have. But fighters don't generally focus on building damage as much as possible. It's sort of like it is a stat that you want,
yeah.
and it's nice to have, but you're focused more on defensive, mobility, health, all that kind of shit.
I think rangers fighters are fine. Honestly,
think
a
they're-
lot of people complain
they're in a
about
great
it, but
spot.
there's a lot of ways to counter it. They almost inherently lose to wizards. The crossbow nerf was,
Yeah, it's,
I think, though, because you just pushed the minute they had chip damage or you hit them, you're like, they're fucked. I'm pushing.
crossbow's still fun. It still hurts if you get shot
Yeah,
in
it
the head
still
by a
hurts.
crossbow.
But I like that now we have choices. Like
Yeah.
you always took crossbow. Now it's like, well, maybe I should take a longbow or a recurve or a serve.
Yeah, I think fighter's in a really good spot. Longsword buff. Now we're finally going to get around and talk to about Longsword. I know we kind of already mentioned it in the past, but Longsword is, in my opinion, the absolute like pinnacle of Dark and Darker for melee, and they should build. And I'm totally in agreement with Ken that they should add more ways to play different weapons. Maybe give them secondary attacks, or just give them something beyond your left click. I mean, this right-hander has the right click that nobody uses because it's fucking terrible.
You're wrong. That's
It
actually
does
way
look- it
better.
does
No,
look
no,
cool.
no, it is better. It's better than the left click. 100%.
I've used it, but the desync that I've experienced with it, I've had it like seen it hit people in the head and it just does no damage. So
it does more damage, by the way. It does like
It does.
25% more damage. It almost always headshots because of the angles. It's
you hit
better
both,
in
it
narrow
just kills.
corridors. It's actually the better attack mode on it. I think, like, not even close. I think if you don't think that, you should get some reps in and
Goblin Caves.
you might
Get some
might change
reps
your mind.
in.
Get some reps in.
You can't use it in Goblin Caves.
Well, you can't use. I mean, you can't use left click either in Goblin Caves.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
fair. That's fair. That's fair.
That's
That's
the
fair.
game sense coming into play right there.
When I play Warlock, I use Whitehander a lot. I'll probably go back to using Longsword now that it's a much better weapon. But when I use Whitehander a lot, it was really good for dealing with people on ruins. It felt really good on ruins because you had enough space to actually use the fucking thing. Yeah, I just to the point of Longsword. Longsword feels amazing now. They did exactly what everybody wanted, which was take 10 off the movement penalty, give it a little bit more damage. They didn't change anything functionally about how the weapon works. We talked a little bit last night, Josh. You mentioned that you think that riposte should only have one swing, and I would accept it only having one riposte because if you do parry and riposte somebody twice, they just die. It's automatic.
That's any class, any gear. If you hit them
Literally
twice,
anything.
it's over.
A full PDR fighter just dies. It's
Yeah.
ridiculous. You were saying that you'd like it to only have one, and I would agree with that if it was instant. Like you hit the parry, it just auto riposte. It's just like part of the animation, like a flourish or something.
Yeah, you push right click, it parries, it's auto riposting into them now, and so you're kind of W keying with the parry as well.
Yeah, and
there's ways to
in a
work
sense,
around
it adds some skill expression to riposte as well because you have to position yourself to take advantage of it. So it's not just you're hoping they hit you and then you get to reposition to hit the thing. Because I know some people think that Longsword's a little cheesy because they just fucking keep swinging away at the guy holding up the riposte, and instead of aiming at his knees, they hit his head and they get fucking auto killed.
Yeah, or even if you aim at their legs, like they just turn at a really weird angle to block like anything from the right.
Than you think it is to do that.
No, I know it. I've killed a lot of people just holding parry, but at the same time, like they're like playing like shit by just holding parry, and it's a gamble.
Yeah,
but like
it's a gamble.
It's the meme. It's the Longsword meme guy. He's like the fighter that runs into the 3-man. He just runs into him and just holds up his parry.
Fucking praise, it gets one.
I'm like, bro, at least wait for me to swing. Like you're just running. Like I'm not gonna play into that. Like at least react. Don't just like come up. Like don't show your hand.
They're all trying to put up the Augustin clips, and most of them die for it. But
I had the coolest like interaction day before yesterday with the Longsword fighter. I was playing Barbarian quarterstaff, and I went up to a fighter. He blocks my my quarterstaff hit, riposte me, but then I quarterstaff block his riposte. I was like, this is how the game should be. This is amazing.
Then you should get a riposte.
So
no. I'm a quarterstaff user.
I'm actually glad you brought that up because I think barbarians should have shields, small ones. I think they should get access to shield. They're already really slow, so if they have a shield, that's a lot of risk for them.
Barbarians slow? Is that what you said?
Well, they're slow outside of rage. Their
gear makes them slow.
Yeah,
I think it's actually backwards.
True. Yeah, if you run shirtless barb, it's not slow. But in any case, I was thinking about things like a parrying dagger for rogue. Like you take an offhand parrying dagger. It doesn't get rogue does not need the ability to fucking one shot you, but they should have something that they can use defensively in melee combat too.
Well, I said that for what if they dual wield the dual wield parry, like parrying dagger. I've said that like on this podcast a couple of times actually. I think if they have dual wield and they have like a parrying dagger, they could just parry and have maybe not a riposte, but just something skill expressive.
Just let it just deflect the blow.
Yeah, sure.
So that they don't get fucking clapped. So that they can actually fight in melee range. I think the one thing that might help melee, and this might be an unpopular opinion, is if you increased players' like hurt box size so that it wasn't as easy for people to just fucking smush into each other and just W key mouse one each other. Because fights can really just evolve into that sometimes. And I think Rogue is the character that, or the class that makes that the most problematic. Because when Rogue gets on top of you and they're just inside you, like spinning around you and tapping you, it feels like you can't get them off of you. And you're just kind of swinging, hoping you swat them and just.
Well, you can't because they have 350 movement speed. So,
right.
Yeah.
But
if they've got the if they're too close, they take a sour spot. Hits as much as anybody else. They do.
Rogue doesn't have sour spot. None of their weapons have sour spots. Go check the wiki. All the hitboxes are on the wiki. They don't have sour spots.
I think Rogue definitely has sour spots.
They don't. It's just that you're more likely to hit somebody in the arms or the chest than you are to hit them in the head if you're that close. Because the stab point.
None of the stabs have it. I don't think the short sword has a sour spot either.
No,
the rapier doesn't have a sour spot.
100% damage on everywhere on the swing.
All right.
It's just that when you're inside somebody, you're more likely to hit their arms or their body because the origin point is below the head. So the hitbox starts as your arm is going forward, so you're hitting like the chest. Even if you're aiming up, it passes through their body first. So if you're literally hugging each other, you're doing less damage most of the time than you would if you were spacing properly. But it still makes melee combat feel really disorienting at times, and I think that's the part where people say there's no skill expression in the game, is when people just get into the hug fights and they're just W keying, mouse wanting each other. When you're up close like that, it does feel really disorienting, and it can just be really confusing to keep track of what you're looking at. Even good players, I see it happen all the time. I think if there was some small increase to like personal space where you couldn't get a like just even like 4 to 6 inches, if you just could not get that much closer with
or if
melee.
you had that push we were talking about.
Oh, or the push, yeah. Actually, yeah, but how's that gonna work on players against each other? You're just fucking running up to each other, pushing each other.
Like, give me some space, dude.
I can also see that being really troll in certain situations in PvP. Like you just push somebody into a doorway or something. That to me, I like the idea of it, but the implications are dangerous.
All right, boys, this has gone on for a long time. We've covered a lot of really important topics. I think we should take some Q&A from chat. I need to get back into the dungeon. Yeah,
I'm with you.
let us Q&A. Chat, give us your questions. I've had some good ones so far. Let me scroll up and try to find some. But I think balance is in a pretty good spot. We've of course gotten a lot of free content from Iron Mace in the in-between gap as we wait for Ice World and Druid to come out and the new chapters of Quest. But it's all positive and it's all on the way to something better. Map rotation is good or bad. Either way, it's a good change. And we can work from here to either improve it or to do something different with it. What do we got, Nate?
Nothing right now, but just to talk about your sour spot comment. So it turns out short sword has an 80% damage on the hilt.
Okay.
But it is such a small. You've never hit with that thing, dude. That thing's like club.
Well, I think the movement speed penalty on that to go from 10 to 13, and then also when swinging, it has a way larger movement speed penalty were good changes. Because rogues it was stupid that they could swing twice and miss and still be on top of you. Like they're just auto left clicking and W keying. That was bad considering how explosive they already are.
Oh wait, so someone in chat just mentioned, I didn't realize this. Has they changed it so the recoverable health isn't lost when you stand up now?
Yes. Oh yeah, I saw that today. That's a really good, really
I just
good
read
change.
that. Yeah, that's not a question, but that's a great change. Yeah, that seemed like a bug, right? That was unintended, or hopefully it was unintended, because that was so annoying.
I feel like they maybe wanted it that way originally, because especially when they buffed the spell recovery, it was like a way to make sure that you were committing at the right time, especially for Cleric, who is recovering health and spells that are going to recover more health. It felt like it was targeted at them more than anything. But I don't know. It just punished everybody else for no reason. So maybe it was a bug. Maybe it was just a weird decision that they just reverted because they're like, wait, why did we keep this in? Either way, I like it this way.
Mm-hmm. Here's a good one. Somebody says, what do you think about people who don't want to buy the game right now because they feel like if it comes to Steam, they will have to purchase it again? I feel like Iron Mace wouldn't follow through with that. And once it releases to Steam, it should either be crossplay with Steam, so you just launch on Blacksmith and it doesn't matter, or they allow us to integrate our accounts to Steam for free. I remember when Albion went to Steam, you could just move your account over. So there was like a window there of 90 days or something, but overall, I don't think we'd have to purchase it twice.
And even if like they couldn't automatically integrate, I think Iron Mace would compensate you with the free Steam copy. Like, then there'd be a way to prove that it's your account. Like, I think
the integration tool on Steam is so easy now. Talking about integrating your accounts, it is so easy to link third-party websites to the main account now that I don't even think we'll lose our accounts moving over. You'll still be able to keep. Like, I don't know if they have a plan to wipe out everything, like all the stuff you've purchased, and then refund like the bluestone shards and stuff down the road. But I think even that stuff, it's so simple to do it on Steam now. We'll just keep everything.
Yeah, they could just give out Steam keys, right? Give out Steam keys to people that already have Blacksmith or Chaff. I mean, it shouldn't be. I know there was some concern over that initially from the handful of people. I'm one of them that bought it through Chaff Games. I heard some rumors that Blacksmith. You had to buy it through Blacksmith in order to get it for free on Steam. That's the only thing they could guarantee. But I think they'll do the right thing. I think they'll just give everybody a key if they're not going to do the full integration. And yeah, I know you can. Somebody in the chat here, Kevin, mentioned that you can register non-Steam games on Steam right now, but that's not the same as full integration.
No.
So.
Right.
Yeah.
On the topic of Steam, how far do you think we're out? Like not when Iron Mace is going to do it, but like where do we think how close is the game to being Steam ready in your opinion? I feel like we're getting pretty close. Like, I've always been on like the other end of it, like definitely finish the game before you go to Steam. This is like our one opportunity to get the big player base type of thing. But I feel like the quests are working. They need refinement, but like the system works. Crafting needs a lot of work, but it's working. Like that's awesome. I the balance is in a good spot. Gameplay feels good. Crypts feels amazing. Goblin Caves is shit. Get rid of it. But I feel like we're getting a lot closer than we were 3 months ago. Like a lot closer.
I think within the next 6 months, we could see a Steam or console release or both with crossplay.
Yeah.
Because if we get Ice World and Druid and Sorcerer, let's say the next 4 months, like we're gonna be at 10 classes, 4 maps, multiple chapters of quests. It's gonna be in a really, really good spot to move to those platforms. As long as legally they're allowed to do that. But I would say within by Q3 2024, I think we should see Steam and console release.
By Q3 and console. Wow. So I feel like they're
they
ready
initially
for
said they
Steam by
wanted
Q1.
I've already played with several people who use an Xbox controller to play this game, and they just use like the Steam integration or the however you do it. I'm not big on hardware, but when I played in the tournament, I played with somebody who used an Xbox controller as a wizard, and I think if you can do it with wizard, you can do it with anybody. You just map the keys, to whatever, and you make it work. And they've always said that they want to come to consoles, and it definitely feels like a couch game to me, where you can just sit down, play Barbarian, listen to music, smash doors, break chests, break skulls. So I think the more people that have access to the game, the better it is going to be for everybody. And once we get Auction House, it'll be kind of like in and out. You're dead, you buy a new set, you drop back in, and I'm excited for it. I think it's going to be a massive populace increase for us. I don't even think Tarkov's there yet, right? Tarkov's not on Steam. Tarkov's not on consoles.
Are they ever going to put that shit on Steam though?
No, I think Nikita is too greedy to give up any small percentage of their income.
They're not going to do that.
I mean, isn't an arena a whole other game? It's not even like part of base Tarkov, right? Like they don't integrate well together.
It's possible they put that on Steam, but you're kind of like
why even split your game?
Yeah.
I won't go into it too much, but I just don't see Iron Mace doing that. I think they're going to expand it to more places for more access. Plus, we're going to get the phone game at some point, even if it's different.
Yeah,
it's a lot. Yeah.
I think all we really need to be Steam ready anyway is finish up quests, right? I think an auction house. And quality of life stuff. Just like enough stuff that if a new player comes in, they're not turned off by like the feel bad features, like just sitting in trade chat for 20 minutes to get one item and getting one shot by rogues and stepping player like as long as those moments aren't there and they minimize that kind of stuff, you're gonna have good player retention. And I think we're definitely way closer than we were.
Yeah,
I'm very excited.
I think it's ready Q2. I think add Druid, add Ice Map, add the Auction House.
So I don't think you need that. That stuff is content, right? Like sure, that stuff's great, but I don't think that stuff's necessary.
Okay, so here's what I think are the actual important things to get players playing the game. Auction House, stabilize the servers, get us back to how they felt in the early playtests, because it is noticeably worse than it used to be. Those two things alone, I think, are going to make a huge difference. They may really want to consider getting account-wide questing, like we've all mentioned multiple times. And I think that's a huge community ask as well. I haven't really heard a whole lot of opposition to that. Those three things, and then like an improved party finder, better than the guild tracker hall that they have right now. And I think that they're ready to go. I think they could. Oh, and some more iteration on the map rotation, because it's still up in the air how people feel about it. It's pretty divisive.
Yeah,
I think if they can nail it down.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. That's really all I was gonna say. I was just gonna say if they nail it down, I think those things will make it ready for release.
Well, just to piggyback on that last comment about the map rotation, one of the guys in our chat said, what if they changed it to like 3 to 5 minute map rotation? So then you would be willing to wait it out. You could
That's
be
not a bad
willing
idea,
to wait
actually.
it out. If it was every 3 minutes, it's changing, then you'd only have to wait 6 max to get in the raid that you want.
That's not a bad idea, because I think most people would be willing to play 2 out of 3 maps anyway. I think most people will only have one map they really don't want to play.
I agree.
Yeah, honestly,
I
that's
don't-
not bad.
Yeah, I don't think it's a bad idea either. My only concern there would be, is that enough time? Like when you're playing in a party of 3 and you wipe and you come out, it's like, okay, we've got 90 seconds or we're waiting another 6 minutes. Then you just say, okay, fine.
Well,
we wait
wait,
6
with an
minutes.
auction house, sure.
But yeah, with an auction house, you can pull it off, right? But either way, it's
Well-
not that punishing, because if you do miss it, then you're like, okay, 6 minutes, gonna go get a drink, gonna go pee. You guys do what you need to do. In 6 minutes, we're raiding. So I don't mind that. I think those lower time frames might work, actually. I think that's a good suggestion.
I would totally be willing to try that. I think that should be sent over to the suggestion channel for sure.
Yeah, that's a good one, I think.
Yeah, we've talked about this a lot on this podcast, but because it's a viewer asked question, they said, should vendors sell all gray items?
Yes.
Yes.
I have always thought yes.
All the time.
Why
Yeah.
not? The
I
fact
also
that
want a loadout button.
Mm-hmm.
that too. But
Loadout would
the
be
fact
huge.
that I get like Abyss fucking copper occultist tunic craft, and I just can't find a vendor with white occultist tunics on it, drives me nuts. It
Mm.
drives
White
me nuts.
spell books. White
Yeah,
spell books, dude.
That'll be
White
auction
spell
house.
books.
Auction house fixes that.
I don't want the auction house to fix that though. I want
The
them
fact-
to just put that
also-
on the vendor.
Dude, you cannot. They don't actually sell the white straw hats on vendors. They don't sell them. They just don't sell. They're on the tables. So in order to craft a copper fucking straw hat, I have to either go get gutted on the marketplace for 200 gold for some guy taking advantage of me, or I have to like lose AP extracting with a white straw hat just to craft.
Wow.
I'm
I didn't
sorry,
know that
that's
was a
just my-
thing.
Or you have to
I'll
go
start saving
normals
them
and
up.
find one. Yeah.
Only
Yeah,
charge
I
150 for him. He'll be a
Dude,
deal.
there's a black market out there for white straw hats on the marketplace, and I am getting destroyed.
They're watching your stream and they're like, dude, don't forget to get Ken's fucking straw hats.
Oh, dude, the worst is when I'm doing like any kind of craft and I'm like in the marketplace just trying to buy a shitty item, and like there's a guy just like want to sell this shitty hound skull for 400 gold, and I know they're in my stream. I know it because no one would ever sell that helmet for more than 50 gold, and they know that I have 1 minute left on my craft and I need it bad, and I will pay.
It's fucking hilarious.
You know who you are.
My closing point on this for the auction house, and this isn't really a big deal, but something that gets talked about a lot is like, oh, you could replace your gear set so fast if you have an auction house. You could also proactively build kits really easily with the auction house, so there is no downtime. So you can
well,
just
that
go
makes
that
sense.
90 seconds where you're just like, I got a set already ready to go. I bought it off the auction house earlier before we booted up as a party so that I was ready in case we wiped.
Right.
Like I love my teammates, but when we die, dude, they take so because they're always wearing good gear and they shop for Biss and they just take so long to re-gear. And I'm like, fuck, this is the worst part of the game right here is me sitting waiting for my team to be
Mhm.
ready.
Well, when we get our quarters or our layer, whatever they're going to call it, hopefully they'll allow us to have mannequins that we can set up entire gear sets on, so you can
Oh,
just
please,
go and pick
God.
it off the
Yes.
shelf. Just
Equip
click
all.
through it.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah,
That's
please,
what's
God.
needed. You combine that with the auction house, and you're getting re-geared fast. I want that, and I want shopping lists for, at the very least, if you could give a shopping list for the items that are never changing in the alchemist, the surgeon. If I can just pick out my shopping list of, I want 6 gray pots and 3 gray bandages and a white campfire, so I can go down and try to kill the lich if he happens to be there, and I don't have to click through all this crap every time.
Yeah, buy all.
Buy all from my shopping list. Like, if you do those 2 things, man, the QOL is just massively improved.
Yep, 100%. I want the loadout button so bad. It's like actually one of the things I want the most.
Yeah. Wow. What else you guys got
Alright,
from
well-
the chat? Any more Q&A?
Anybody have one? Else I have one.
You have one?
My chat asks if green items are terrible right now, but I feel like when I'm trying to buy something in Trade
You
Guild
sell?
and there's a well-statted green item like 2 base stat plus 2 of a stat I want. Usually that's 200 to 400 gold, and then I don't have to try to buy like an 8 ingot blue or like a 1 key purple. I'm just gonna buy it and send it. Because if it's well rolled, it's well rolled. Like regardless, it's always been this case. I don't think greens are that interesting to take out of raid right now because the way AP works. But if it's max rolled, it's still worth taking out. It's just like the way drops work. It does feel like, especially in HR, blues and purples drop all the time. So greens don't have the place that they used to have, but they're still useful.
There's some greens like jewelry, for instance. Like I'll use like a 1 knowledge 3 magic damage necklace, or like a 1 knowledge 3 magic healing. Yeah, like something. Yeah, so it's totally viable. But I see what your chatter's saying. Like greens are in a weird spot where
greens sucking is only because of how tedious the auction hall is. The trade hall is. If you could go on the auction house and spend 600 gold to get yourself a nice set of greens, people would do that shit all the time to get ready into HR with. If you could get a full everything you need for 600 gold, people do that. I would do that every time.
Also, like with the way the AP and the rank system works, nobody's extracting with green gear anymore.
Right.
Nobody's, because like, they don't want to deal with selling it, and it's not giving them AP. So like, no one's extracting with green gear for the most part. Obviously, there's outliers to set with the intention to sell it. I mean, like obviously, if you're gear 0 to heroing, you loot green gear, you wear green gear, you'll extract that. But like, no one's filling their inventory with green gear, extracting with it, and be like, dude, I can't wait to go to the marketplace to sell this shit. Spend 20 minutes of my life selling this fucking shit.
New players would be very excited about getting a bunch of cool greens that they know are worth money on an auction house. If they're like, I only play normals, like your friends that when they lose, they go play normals a bunch until they have a kit ready for HR. If you're somebody who plays normals primarily and you're the guy that's like selling the green kit for the people like us who don't want to wait, like if I don't want to go scoping through a whole bunch of gear and I don't want to spend a bunch of money on some haphazard loose set, and I could just get all the shit I need for like a green set that I know I'm just going to quickly replace, but it's enough to get me started, then that's great for the low level players because they can make a ton of money. I'll just pay fucking 600 gold for a full dark plate set with the longsword and longbow and all that shit. I'll do that. Hell yeah.
I mean, I said that it's in a weird spot, but I don't think it's a problem that green's in a weird spot. Like, I mean,
it's
just
I
trade.
don't think so. Yeah.
It's just trade. Trade sucks.
All right. So what about this question? What if for like the map rotation system, what if you just queue for whatever solo duo trios, you don't pick a map, but in the pregame, everybody gets a vote. Majority rules.
You gotta turn vote back on for that.
All the rogues are just gonna vote ruins all the time. You just play ruins. That's all you'd be playing.
Do the old Halo system or Halo 3? It's like you veto the map that you don't want to play, and everyone's just gonna veto Goblin Caves all the time.
Yeah. No, my goblins.
That I'm on board with. Yeah, I like that.
No.
Great shirt, by the way, Josh. I just noticed. Where can people get that at www.sobadstreams.com?
Listen, I'm not going to promote myself and everybody else's stream, but I've got merch. Come to the stream, check it out. It's the Lich. He's drinking coffee. It's an emote in the official Discord.
This wasn't planned, by the way. That's
pretty dope.
It's not bad. It's nice. And it's a long sleeve.
What is that? Was that 90% con?
It looks comfy.
It's nice. I can go to sleep in it.
All right.
All right, boys.
Well,
here, I think it is time.
Go buy Josh's stuff. Go to his site. Go buy the merch. Do it. It looks sweet, dude. No cap.
It's decent. My best friend's wife makes this. It's not like some big company. We reached out. We made a decent little deal. Those that haven't seen it, I'll get a little bit closer to the cam for you.
Go. Close up.
Boom.
Well, when's the Rat King shirt, dude? Come on.
It's got to be soon. It's all about the rats and the goblin grease. I want to make cologne. It's a specific cologne.
It should be a hair gel.
Okay. Well, theoretically, it can be both. You just squirt it in your hand. Either way, it's going to harden into something that you're not going to want on your body, and it's going to actually specifically keep away the opposite gender. So, I think there's a lot of people that are interested in that. People don't always want to smell good. Sometimes they want to smell bad. Goblin grease.
Sold.
Sold.
There's nowhere to go from there.
All right, this was a long one. Yeah, let us get back into the dungeon.
That was a good one though, boys.
Release me. I must
Release
kill.
me.
Back to the dungeons. Thanks everybody for tuning in. This is episode 15. Thanks everybody in the chat. We will plan to be back. We plan to be back next Thursday.
Well, quick answer. You will see us on the 26th, right?
Yes.
Oh, that's right.
The
Quick
Darkest
promo.
Hour podcast.
We will be on the Darkest Hour.
Yeah, so the 26th, tune in for that. You'll see the Hold the Line boys with the Darkest Hour boys. That'll be fun. Don't miss it. Just wanted to add that, so everybody knows.
Perfect.
But on that note, see ya.
We out.
Bye. All right, bye.
See ya.